Hi guys, welcome to Counterpoints. My name's Connor. I'm a science fiction, politics, and philosophy nerd, a Marine Corps and law enforcement veteran. I would argue a real Republican. And today we are in the Destiny traffic helicopter in which we view the wreckage of his personal life. Today, he is covering his court transcript getting released in reference to the Pxie civil case. But I want to give you some background in case this is your first encounter with the character Stephen Bonnell II. Stephen Bonnell II is a liberal streamer. He's probably like top 3 to 5 live political streamers. I think it realistically is him, Hassan Piker, and Vosh, excuse me, on the left. I think on the right, it would be people like Tim Pool or Steven Crowder or the characters who are over on Rumble. It's a fairly large guy. He gets between like 5 and 15,000 live viewers, depending on what he's talking about. And if he has a particularly large drama, he can, of course, get into like 20,000, 30,000 live viewers. And I think he's even had like a 6-figure day one time. So he's a big guy, lots of clout, lots of money. He has a little industry around him. Well, what ended up happening was he is a sexual libertine, okay? He is someone who enjoys hedonistic sex for its own sake. And so he's led debaucherous sexual affairs for the past decade. And this finally caught up with him November 29th of 2023, or 2024, excuse me, where somebody took sexual text messages, sexual messages that he had sent to a sex worker, including videos and pictures of homemade pornography, and they leaked it to the internet. One of the people who was a member of those leaks is named Pxie. She was an online content creator. She is currently suing him for damages related to that case. A transcript has been released. Stephen is covering it. We are going to watch him and break it down. Let's do it.
This almost... Okay, I'm done. Stop. Okay. Okay. Background. On April 4th, 2025, the court held a hearing on plaintiff's motion for a temporary restraining order and preliminary injunction. At the hearing, District Judge Jacqueline Becerra denied plaintiff's motion for a TRO and referred the remainder of the motion to the undersigned for disposition. Accordingly, the undersigned held a hearing on June 3rd, 2025 on plaintiff's motion for preliminary injunction. That hearing lasted approximately 2.5 hours and saw both plaintiff and defendant testify as to the issues raised by plaintiff's motion. Additionally, the hearing was open to the public. There was no request made to the court either before or during the hearing to seal the courtroom in any fashion. And accordingly, there were others in attendance beyond the undersigned, court staff, the parties, and their counsel. Now, it's so crazy. Now, it could be that the judge is just a massive fan of mine and somehow I'm rigging the whole thing, because I feel like I've said all of these things multiple times, and all of the Kiwi Farms lawyers said they didn't matter, but if you want to have something sealed, it's important to get things sealed before you have the thing happen. I don't think that the court looks fondly upon people playing with the process where they're trying to like seal shit in order to hide stuff from the public when it's obvious that that's the intention. If you want to have a closed door hearing, you can make that statement ahead of time. We want to have a hearing, we want it to be under seal, and then you set that up. You don't have a hearing and then try to seal it afterwards because you think it went bad for you, especially by making bullshit excuses for it. But that's just my impression. I could be retarded, and maybe the judge is also wrong, and the Kiwi Farms people are right, you know? It's possible. Who knows? Plaintiff, however, filed a motion to seal the hearing transcript, here referred to as the transcript, citing the existence of highly sensitive, private, and confidential information, including personal details with regards to the identity of Ms. Doe, details concerning Ms. Doe's harm and suffering because of defendant's actions, and sexually explicit content. The filing of the transcript indeed incited much fervor to the end of a concerned call from the court reporter regarding next steps. Given plaintiff's allegations as to the potential harm resulting from the testimony, a then lack of an existing protective order governing the party's actions as to, for example, a procedure for dealing with inadvertently disclosed confidential information, were there any, and a litany of then recently filed motions, including for a gag order tangentially related to elements of the party's testimony, the court granted in part plaintiff's motion to seal pending further order of the court. Yeah, so it's just saying there's been a lot of back and forth basically about whether or not to seal or not seal this, and yeah, okay. In the intervening period, we've addressed several of the party's outstanding motions and, now being well acquainted with the equities of the case, issued the foreshadowed further order of the court. Now, I like it whenever the judge writes on stuff because I feel more sane, because I feel like opposing counsel is crazy, Joan. I'm talking about you, okay? Despite all of her love letters that she writes to me and every motion that she files on behalf of her client, who I assume is paying, I feel like their arguments are just unhinged. I feel like they're just insane arguments. I feel like this statement of now being well acquainted with the equities of the case, every time I see the judge write on this, I feel like they're continually coming down on the other side. And now being well acquainted with the equities of the case makes me feel like he's even more familiar now with everything going on here. And they don't stop coming, they don't stop coming, the rulings. Okay. Applicable principles and law. Pursuant to the, what is this guy? I can't tell if he's riffing or this is stuff he's reading. I always riff. What are you talking about? And then I made a really funny joke at court, and then the judge looked at me, and then he's, no, I'm just kidding. Stop. Okay. I'm reading the ruling now. Okay. Pursuant to the local rules of the Southern District of Florida, unless otherwise provided by law, court rule, or court order, proceedings in the United States District Court are public, and court filings are matters of public record. The general public possesses a common law right to access judicial records, and judicial records are presumed to be public documents. Well-established 11th Circuit case law protects this common law right because once a matter is brought before a court for resolution, it is no longer solely the party's case, but also the public's case. So this is the thing I've been saying over and over and over again. Pxie wants to do all this stuff like in the shadows and have everything sealed and everybody anonymous and everything redacted. And it's like, bro, for like a Substack, okay, you can do whatever you want, but like if you want to go to court, well, these are like public filings. This is like public interest now. Like you can't hide everything over and over again. Like you have to, like, we're in court now. It's time to be adults, you know? Analysis. Based on these rules and principles, when a party orders a transcript of a hearing from the court reporter, transcripts filed on the docket are presumptively public judicial documents.
All right, trying to do a little bit of transformative commentary here. So I think, yeah, never trust a Destiny stream where you can't see both of his hands for $10, grassroots. Jesus, this is a family show. This is a family show. Okay, so the argument here, we'll get to my drawing. Don't you worry your pretty little face. I guess I'll introduce my drawing, okay? There is a concept of orbiting within Twitch and YouTube politics, okay? And Steven, in a lot of ways, is like Dracula. He's like the original vampire. He's been streaming since 2010, 2011, I want to say. I want to say that, you know, he started out as a StarCraft streamer. He started making a healthy chunk of money. I think he said the first year he made around 60K. He made 60K his first year of streaming. So 2010 to 2011, that's why he was able to escape the wage cage, was because he was able to pay his bills using streaming. God bless him. Since that time, he obviously grew. He was kind of known as a shit talker. And in 2016, he switched into politics. Well, since that time, he helped Hassan Piker, the currently largest streamer, left-wing streamer in the Western world. He helped Hassan Piker become one of the biggest political commentators, especially on Twitch, but also in general. He also helped Vosh become an established streamer. And then these people created their own orbits, which I will be adding momentarily. But orbiting is the concept of you can be a smaller streamer. Like I think Pisco gets, you know, between 500 and 1,500 viewers, depending on who he's talking to and talking about. But Pisco could be argued to be a streamer to Destiny until recently, actually until November 29, 2023. I think Pondering Politics could have been argued to be not like an orbiter, like he was there all the time, but obviously he participated in Twitch and YouTube politics. He participated in streams and he hung out with Steven. Excuse me. Hutch, IRI, myself, Soy Pill. We all hung out with Steven for debates. We hung out with Steven whenever there was a spicy drama. We would call into his show, whatever. And of course, that was good for both parties. For Steven, he got content that allowed him to create VODs that he then made ad revenue on. And then the smaller streamer or the smaller content creator got a spicy VOD that would allow more people to check out their channel. As a matter of fact, some people are saying that that's how they got introduced to my channel, was by the one-on-one. Thank you. Gen X says, I just literally audibly said, God bless you. Based. Now, the argument is that some of these creators are so talented, like Vosh and Hassan Piker, that they would have achieved success without Steven. And so it's not fair to call them orbiters. But I think that there's very few people who would deny that having an early digital media career relationship with Stephen Bennell was beneficial to their career, right? I think there's very few people. And I think what ends up happening, though, is Steven, because no offense to Steven, he's a sex degenerate. What ends up happening is people will be like, okay, this dude's a fucking liability, right? He's a liability because he says crazy shit on Twitter. He's a liability because he likes to have sex with emotionally unstable women. He's a liability because if you get into a debate and you guys disagree, sometimes DGG can be quite rude and mean and call you stupid. And they can go into your DMs and they can call you a bad person. And so what's happened is while Steven has maintained his entertainment, he's maintained his platform for a decade and a half, which is impressive. What happened is a lot of these relationships have frayed. So Hassan Piker and him are no longer friends. He's no longer friends with Vosh. Pisco and him, maybe they'll be friends in the future, but Pisco basically swore off Steven in November 29, 2023, when the sex drama came to light. A lot of the people in what I would argue is Pondering Politics' orbit have sworn off interacting with Steven until he's no longer a liability. Although there is the argument that they're all part of Unfuck America, so they might be a little bit closer than they want to. Demon Mama, who was a Vosh orbiter, has died digitally. She was accused, one of her partners, because she lived in a trans polycule, one of her partners was accused of sexual impropriety. And so Demon Mama has disappeared. And then Xander Hall, who used to be a Vosh orbiter, but was formerly a Destiny orbiter, his career is also seeming to be hovering right above, needing to quit and get a full-time job. And also, he's burned the bridge with Vosh, or Vosh burned the bridge with him, because they had disagreements in reference to the 2024 election. So the truth is that these relationships are fraught. These relationships bloom and blow up and freak out all the fucking time. And I'll continue to draw my drawing, but kind of the question is, in reference to this legal thing, is will Steven survive the sex drama? At which point the orbiters, former orbiters, new creators will say, okay, it's still advantageous to be friends with Steven. Or will this civil suit be so destructive to Steven's digital reputation that most people will treat him as a pariah? So, that's why we're talking about this. That's why there's probably a few thousand live. That's why I'm still, even though Steven probably stole a third of my audience, fucking thieving bastard. Even though he stole a third of my audience, that's why I'm still hovering around 100 people, is because an entire political economic machine is determined by the fate of this court case. So let me continue to draw while we let Steven continue to yap about the court case.
As such, they become part of the public record in a case, and accessible to the public like any other public document. The motion here seeks to alter that rule for this filing. Thus, the movant has the burden to overcome this presumptive right of access to the filed transcript. So the movant is the person who files a motion, because you're the mover, the movant, right? And then presumptively, everything is public, so you have to make an argument for why should this thing not be public. Thus, plaintiff has the burden of showing good cause why the right of access should be limited.
Grassroots points out that Pondering went on Destiny's show twice and has more subs than the population of Morocco in 6 minutes. That's part of the reason why in my drawing, I didn't do a direct drawing from Pondering to Pisco. Pondering to Destiny, because realistically, Pondering didn't get his boost from Steven. Pondering got his boost by doing Trump bad Midas touch style content. So, that's where, you could say, oh, Josiah, he was in Twitch and YouTube poll just like everybody else. Yeah, but Josiah also blew up on his own, which while I make fun of the Trump bad content, I think you have to applaud Josiah for creating his own niche and succeeding within his own niche.
Thus, a movement must make a specific showing of a compelling cause, as opposed to relying on stereotyped or conclusory statements. Oh no, so you have to make an actual argument. You can't just, write random shit. Good luck. Oh, esports Batman, already salty. One of the many lawyers who has been proven to be a total fucking legal retard with regards to this. But I like it. How mad that every quote unquote lawyer on the internet that was following this case is so brain broken by me. I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's the fuckboy chain. I don't know if it's the Ray-Ban.
No, bro. No, so see, dude, this is where I don't like the Giga Chad shit. I'll be brief. I wouldn't Giga Chad this shit. Just own it, man. Just own it. Yeah, I did some crazy shit. Whoops.
Auto sunglass featured prescription lenses. Okay, I don't know if it's my stylish DGG merch. Okay, I don't know if it's my 38-inch arms. I don't know what it is, but something just triggers the fuck out of you guys and it breaks your brains, and I'm here for it. I love it. Okay.
It was probably mostly having sex with like a half a dozen to a dozen people and then sending it to a sex worker who you thought was 18 years old. And by the way, I know that's like a low blow criticism, but I would say that's probably why Pxie hates your guts. It's probably not the Ray-Bans. It's probably not the DGG merch. It's probably not the swag boy, fuck boy style. It's probably the leaking homemade porn, if I had to guess.
Wait.
Yo, who is he hanging out with in France?
Sorry, I was seeing if I could have cat ears, but I don't have those. That's okay. We'll live. Okay. Thus, plaintiff relies primarily on 3 cases to support her assertion that the subject matter of the transcript is traditionally considered private, not public, none of which aid plaintiff's case here, or for that matter, are binding on us. Okay, so I told you over and over again when these guys file motions, I always read the underlying cases because I'm curious, okay? And none of the cases ever apply. Like, none of the shit they cite, I'm like, this has nothing to do with what you guys are talking about. And the judge reads cases too, and I love that. Number one. Number two, I think that generally speaking, when it comes to federal court, it's nice if you can cite from your, from the particular district you're in, or at the very least, you want to cite in the circuit that you're in. Now, you don't have to cite from you could cite from other circuits, but like generally speaking, I think the particular circuits respect their stuff more than anybody else's because it's their circuit, right? And that's how the court system in the United States works, So Florida is in the 11th Circuit, I believe. And so you want to cite, ideally, 11th Circuit cases when you're talking about stuff that you want to apply in the court area that you're filing your case in, Okay. First, so now the judge is going through the cases that these lawyers cited, okay? First, in U.S. versus Amadeo, a RICO action, the Second Circuit considered whether a portion of a report created by a court officer appointed pursuant to a consent decree to investigate allegations of corruption in a local union was improperly unsealed. Plaintiff cites Amadeo for the proposition that, quote, financial records of a wholly owned business, family affairs, embarrassing conduct with no public ramifications, and similar matters will weigh more heavily against access than conduct affecting a substantial portion of the public, end quote. Amadeo ultimately concluded the report had only a marginal relationship to the performance of Article 3 functions, as it was not filed in connection with a request for action by the district court. And further, the privacy interest in question was the attorney-client privilege, which the clients had, in effect, waived by way of the consent decree. But Amadeo is inopposite. As to the point of, inopposite, I think, is lawyer fancy speak for, I think it says the opposite of what you wanted to say, or it's standing on the other side of what you wanted to say, right? I believe. As to the point of embarrassing conduct with no public ramifications and similar matters, which we assume by process of elimination in the phraseology plaintiff was emphasizing and citing Amadeo, that is not what is before us here. And this conclusion is supported by other cases plaintiff cites. Chief among those other cases is U.S. v. Kravitz. In Kravitz, the First Circuit considered a journalist's appeal of a motion to unseal certain records, which had been denied by the district court because the documents in question contain matters that are predominantly personal to Kravitz, and there is not apparent justification for their general publication. As to the defendant's medical records, the court acknowledged its sensitivity to the fact that medical documentation may contain information beyond the diagnosis and treatment information that is likely to form the basis of a plea or grant of leniency, such as a history of drug use or testing for sexually transmitted diseases, and thus that the presence of such information may weigh more heavily against public access. But Kravitz also noted in remanding that subjective remarks about a patient's demeanor, character, and mental state are sometimes a part of the record. Wait, am I missing any good footnotes? One. Where was? Oh no. Okay. This is a quote from that case. Oh, actually, we'll read this, I guess. Leviton's claim of privacy in his medical records, however, may lose some force in light of his prior publication of the information that he now seeks to protect. Remember, okay, the general claim that is made is don't be public, don't talk publicly about your case, because the reason is especially if you're not a lawyer, and even if you are a lawyer, you don't know what you're saying publicly that might come back to bite you in the ass later on. You know, one of the big criticisms that I gave of Pxie before anything was when she published that Substack against me, she basically totally closed the door on ever reaching any kind of a settlement with me, because this is a civil case. The only thing that's going to come out of this is civil stuff. The only thing, more than you even know, the only thing that will come out of this is civil stuff, which means money. That's all that's going to cost me. So if you write a Substack and you are attacking the fuck out of me, writing the most unhinged shit possible, well, the only thing I can lose in court is money. You've already cost me more money on your Substack. Well, now I'm never settling. What is the incentive that I ever have to settle that case? So now you fucked yourself there. And you got to be careful because stuff that you're publicizing, in a case where you're trying to keep everything private, is going to hurt your privacy claims and other claims you're going to make later on down the road, right? So this is not good. Don't do this. Not a good thing. But okay. So the quote from here is, the interest in privacy fade when the information involved already appears on the public record. And then this case noting that prior publicity weighs strongly against sealing. If Pxie would have sued me without making that Substack first, and it would have been private, she would have had much stronger privacy claims here, but she's trying to have it both ways. She's trying to milk the cow on, I want all the publicity possible so that I can extort, blackmail, and bury Stephen if I can, but I also want everything in court to be private as possible. You can't have it both ways. You have to pick. Like, yeah, you can't do that.
I don't know if I assign the same level of maliciousness. I'm just going to interject every now and then, add a couple of cents just so it's actually a reaction. I don't know if I assign that level of maliciousness to Pxie, where she simultaneously, like, she's conscious that she wants it both ways. She, she wants to defame Stephen and causes maximal damage publicly before the case is even settled, but also she wants to be able to solicit public support for her thing. I think it's just as simple as she might have rich parents. I have no idea. She might have rich friends. I have no idea. But if you're actually going to engage in what she's engaged in, which is a public suit, you're going to need a war chest. You're going to need a shitload of cash. And so publishing the details of the lawsuit was probably necessary in order to fundraise for the lawsuit. And then when it comes to the sealing of private stuff, The truth is that this is already extremely damaging to arguably Pxie's reputation and any reputation she wanted by creating a digital media career. Now, I think my frustration with that is that if you didn't want, maybe this is just me being a boomer, but my behavior should be, relatively speaking, close in private and in public. And so I think you guys know I'm an abrasive asshole. I like talking a lot of shit. I'm kind of crazy. Like I say some wild shit every now and then, but I try to be a normie as much as possible. And so, you know, like if it came to light that my wife and I got into verbal spats sometimes, I don't think that would be like beyond the pale. I think you guys would understand that my wife likes to fucking banter. She's funny as fuck. She can be mean as fuck. You know, she makes jokes. Sometimes they hurt my feelings. And I can also do the same thing. I bant. I say some crazy shit every now and then. And so the whole point is don't have a giant gap between your public persona and your private life. Okay, don't have a giant gap. And so I don't think the damage was necessarily caused by Pxie having a casual affair with Steven. I think the damage was caused by Pxie saying like, oh, we've never hooked up, we've never had sex, we never did anything, we never did this, we never did that. Therefore, here's all my cultural prescriptions as I'm going on a red pill tour, because she was a part of the red pill tour for a while. She was going on to whatever podcast. But then it was later learned that she had a sexual affair. She had a sexual, not affair, but she had a sexual liaison with Destiny. And so a lot of people were like, okay, you're a liar and you're a hypocrite. And Steven could be a piece of shit by leaking your sext. But if you lied about this, what else have you lied about? And I think that's where a lot of the reputational damage came from. It's not because she had a casual liaison with Steven that got leaked. It's because she lied about a detail. And then as a result, people are doubting her credibility. So that's where I'm at. And then looking at what I'm doing faultingly, I'm trying to draw these relationships as best I can. I don't know if I'll have enough room in order to add Unfuck America and what Unfuck America is trying to do. But realistically, I think this is an okay drawing of what's going on. The new Pondering Politics orbit, I would stand by this as accurate. There's probably more relationships between Destiny and a lot of these creators, and obviously myself, and Erudite and PV and all that kind of stuff. I'll try to draw that. But then what's interesting about this dynamic changing is I still need to somehow fit in the Unfuck America tour and kind of describe what they're doing. But then I got to figure out all the TikTok kids, because there's a bunch of TikTok kids like Dean Withers. And I know Adam Mockler isn't a TikTok kid, but he's kind of like a new up-and-comer Midas Touch bro. So I need to figure out how to get these guys on the map and give them their due deference of size.
In his public sentencing hearing, he articulated not only the full panoply of ailments from which he suffers, but also the dire predictions for his health should he fail to take immediate steps to improve his condition. So this is all about another case, okay? All right. Importantly...
Hi, Input. Good to see you. Like the stream, share it with your friends, engage with chat, super chats if you got them, memberships if you got them. Thank you for all the support.
Here, plaintiff's request that the court seal the transcript is ostensibly to protect deeply private, sexually explicit, and mental health-related testimony from being broadcast over 1 million online followers by a political streamer who has a documented pattern of weaponizing public proceedings for harassment, monetization, and spectacle. Okay? So, number one, with all caps, fuck you. Okay? For you to weaponize, I'm speaking right now to Jane Doe, okay? For Jane Doe to weaponize the fuck out of her Substack, and now the court system, which it really is, which is ironic, given that she says she wants to go to law school, right? For her personal petty squabbles that are being funded by mom and dad after scamming the public for money for it, for her to weaponize all of that and then cry when I just want to read my own public filings, which is my right as a public citizen because you filed a federal lawsuit in public court about it, is crazy that I'm weaponizing public proceedings by reading them. Capital F fuck you, okay?
I mean, I think that's the argument, though. So I'm not saying that Steven doesn't have a right to. Obviously, like the truth should be released to the public. But I think the argument is, since he's a public persona, since he has a large audience, he can obviously bias his reading of public transcripts his way. Then as a result, his community could go and harass the plaintiff. I mean, I don't think that's out of bounds logically, even if he's saying that's not what he's doing. Like I could understand, internet dog piles are unpleasant. So having an internet dog pile over a lurid sexual liaison, I could understand why people would be scared about that shit. Maybe you guys could, make me see it differently, but I don't think I really can. Even if you view it as malicious on Pxie's part or malicious on Lauren De Laguna's part, I think it's logical.
One, as compared to Kravitz and to the court's knowledge, the transcript does not contain any discussion about plaintiff's medical records or anything to do with plaintiff seeing or being treated by a physician or other mental health professional.
Thank you for the membership, Just Carpet 563, Parasocial Love.
So the emphasis in Kravitz that medical documentation may contain sensitive information is inapplicable here. Second, plaintiff has, in several public filings, been quite forthcoming about the mental health and other effects of the events surrounding the video, and has been from the start. For instance, as to mental health, plaintiff's original and operative complaints both contain the same passages regarding her struggles. Compare, in the very first complaint, plaintiff feels increasingly humiliated, mortified, and depressed and starts feeling suicidal. On or about December 11th, 2024, she starts writing suicide notes. Look, that's so cute, because my birthday is December 12th. She wanted to have her extortion of me ready for my birthday. How nice.
Okay.
Plaintiff messages Bonnell and tells him that she is, quote, just tired of living anymore. It's a matter of time until my family discovers what happened. I feel like the best thing to do is for me to kill myself and schedule a post just detailing my feelings on what happened to try and ensure a situation like this doesn't happen again, end quote. Later on, there is a $1 million demand for money tied to this, by the way. Every fucking retard, Kelly Jean, I'm sorry included, that's like, Destiny should have just settled with her. Destiny should have just settled this before it went to court. I am never paying $1 million out to a blackmail extortion attempt, okay? Fuck you, all right? And $1 million. Remember, the most that she's qualified for, the most she can win in this case is like $150K.
Dude, I said this advice. I said this to him in person, man. I would just, shit. I would have just offered 150K, called it a day. Now, I know that you don't want to set the precedent. You don't want other people to think that they can extort you. You don't want this. You don't want that. But this shit's getting dragged out for the better case of a year. Your reputation's obviously already super damaged, but it kind of colors all of your online relationships going forward. I think I would have said, hey, yeah, I did something fucked up. I don't agree with the way that this has been characterized. However, in order to try to make some level of restitution, here's 150K, go fuck yourself. I think if the damage had been limited just to that sphere, that would have been okay. But I do understand then that as a result, maybe Melina would have been like, hey, you leaked my shit too. So give me a few $100,000 or else I'm going to sue. And then same thing with, I think, Stasia, Pxie, Melina, and I think there was one other girl. Oh, and Sherry. All of them could come around and be like, yeah, cut me off a slice of that Destiny retirement fund, which could be their right. It could be their right to do so. But I do understand if I understand the selfish motivations or the logical motivations of Pxie, then I also understand the logical motivations of Steven saying, if I go down that road, you don't know where it stops.
That's the statutory cap, all right? But whatever. What she sued me, by the way, the demand letter was for $15 million, but it is what it is. And then 19, plaintiff tells defendant's close friend about her suicidal thoughts, that she cannot bear the humiliation and harassment she is enduring, and that she wants to ensure Bonnell never does this to her or anyone else ever again. Item 21, plaintiff continues feeling depressed and suicidal. Item 22.
Mad Money Max says this feels very ick. First thing you do when you come back is a Destiny victory lap and just omit the other side nasty shit that's recently happened. I don't think I've omitted shit. And by the way, we're only watching this because it's happening now. That's the only reason why we're watching it. I was set up to watch 2 debates. I was already watching a debate before it. And then Rose confirmation and Darius N-word stuff. I actually don't know what you're talking about with Darius. With Rose, I think we've covered that multiple times. With Rose, the allegation was Steven said that he has DMs showing that she represented herself as 18 or 19. I've already called him an R slur multiple times for that, interacting with an 18-year-old or a 19-year-old sex worker, beyond dumb as fuck. I actually, a lot of people in my chat think that if she was 18 years old in one day, that's no big deal. Whereas for me, I'm like, maybe grow the fuck up, maybe grow the fuck up. Maybe that. So I don't agree with my chat in reference to that shit. And then in reference to Rose, I think that if people want the Rose insults to land or the Rose criticism to land, number one, they probably shouldn't be coming from a European country with age of consent laws that are like 15 years old or 16 years old. I think that's number one. Number two, they probably shouldn't have I'm thinking of somebody specific. They probably shouldn't have like a long history of defending, the 16-year-old age of consent. Again, I'm thinking about somebody specific. And then number three, they should try to prove that Rose and Steven knew that she was 17 and a half years old at the time of communication. And then at that point, I think your arguments are going to land harder. They land with me. I don't think a 35-year-old man or a 37-year-old man should be flirting with an 18-year-old anyways. I think the difference in experience is so vast that that should be morally objectionable, even if it's not illegal. What's interesting, though, is a lot of the critics that want to, hang Destiny from a lamppost for the Rose thing. If you go, oh, well, what happens when, she's 18 years old? They're like, oh, I don't give a fuck anymore. And it's like, that doesn't feel like a principled position. That kind of feels like you just hate this motherfucker, which is understandable. You can hate Steven. There's plenty of reasons why people hate Steven. But it doesn't feel like some kind of like principled stance. Anyways, it's not my fault, Mad Money Max. This is just the way that chronological time works. And I'm not doing a Destiny victory lap. I'm trying to needle his summary of the case.
Same as the complaint. And then here, the original plan was basically for me to commit suicide and schedule a note for after I died, detailing what Steven had done and hoping that everybody would forever know what he did and be able to stay away from him and be able to be more wary and cautious. Again, tied with a demand for money.
That's basically saying that you want reputational damage, right?
This is textbook extortion, by the way, but the original complaint has been live on the public docket for many months. The plaintiff perhaps added additional characterizing details, for example, support from her friends, or more emphasis on why she experienced such thoughts during the June 3rd, 2025 hearing, does not change the fact that the information has already been made publicly available through plaintiff's own filings. What's more, the transcript is one of a public hearing.
Nice. Rob with a B with some real politics commentary says, bulwark. If you don't solve the border, people will go to fascists to do it. And if you don't solve the cost of living, people will go to socialists to do it. Sarah Longwell. Nice.
So plaintiff had not only published this information in her earlier pleadings, but also was, in the moment, speaking in a public forum. And then footnote 3, and as to things of a deeply private or sexually explicit nature, plaintiff has not raised any specific elements of the transcript in her argument. But it merits noting that she has also long publicly stated many of these allegations and or included similar factual information in her briefing. Compare in the complaint allegations regarding plaintiff's prior relationship experience with docket item 90.
Gen X, if you're saying that it gets spicy somewhere, tell me what timestamp to skip to. What we're watching Steven cover his unsealed court transcript.
Testimony regarding plaintiff's prior relationship experience and perception.
Well, Christian is the oiler who paid for this content, so we're going to skip ahead.
The time could have been seen as having been designated as confidential under such an order. The transcript also does not reflect any inadvertent references to plaintiff's name. It's not Haig, it's Hagel Mary. Get it? Stop.
All right, here we go.
And
here's the transcript.
Some stuff that's been in these filings that will never show up again, but I can't say much more. We'll see. I have to wait. I will say that all of it, there are a whole lot of people who should be unbelievably ashamed of themselves, but we'll get there. Okay, so the following procedures were held. Okay, this is our court hearing from June 3rd this year. The Deputy Clerk, the United States District Court is now in session. The Honorable Edwin G. Torres presiding, calling case Doe Bonnell, case number, blah, blah, blah. Okay. What was this hearing in regard to? This is our preliminary injunction hearing. Counsel, please state your appearance, starting with the plaintiff. Mr. Lage, I don't know how to pronounce his name, but this is Pxie's lawyer. Joan Peters did not show up for this hearing. I don't know why, but... Good morning, Your Honor. Gus Lage, Carlos Garcia Perez, law clerk, Ms. Garcia, and the plaintiff, Jane Doe, is present. Mr. Raskoff. Good morning, Your Honor. Bob Raskoff from the Bilzen-Sumberg firm, along with my colleague Patricia Patino, and our lead counsel from Los Angeles is Andrew Bretler from Burke Bretler. So for court stuff, in order for you to appear at the venue, you can't be from another state. Like somebody from California can't practice law in Florida unless they're licensed down there. However, if you get a law firm to sponsor you, what the law firm can do is have you file, it's a pro hac vice filing saying, I would like to appear down here, and then this other local law firm is sponsoring my appearance here. So the lead counsel in my case is the Bretler law firm from California, and then Raskoff and his law firm are the Florida-based law firm that's allowing them to come in, basically, right? Okay. Please do voices? No. Destiny, I'm begging you to actually research narcissistic abuse strategies. Your life will be so much better. Is that for me? I saw that some people are now claiming that I'm a narcissist. Okay, thank you. I love my psychoanalyzers.
I'm not even saying that as like a jab. I think Steven is narcissistic, but that's not like, I think I'm just being descriptive. That's just true.
Can you explain, like I'm five, what a preliminary injunction is? So a preliminary injunction, an injunction means that you're enjoining or stopping a party from engaging in certain behavior, future behavior. Preliminary injunction is before the trial has happened, you're in an extraordinary measure, you're asking the court to step in and stop somebody from doing some actions, to enjoin them from some behavior. But that's an extraordinary step, right?
Mad Money Max says, just dropping this, then leaving for the day. It feels Connor. Just feels like you're covering the stuff that makes D look good. I don't even know if that's true yet. I don't even think we've gotten enough details in order to know that. Darius gets called the N-word by a Nazi invited by Destiny. Empathchan called Darius the N-word. Now that sounds like content. Again, I'm unfamiliar.
You're seeing a lot of TROs, temporary restraining orders, and preliminary injunctions right now in regards to the Trump administration, right? Yeah. Okay. Good morning, Your Honor. Okay, this is my lawyer, the Giga Chad. Okay. Good morning, Your Honor. Andrew Bretler from Burke Bretler. We're also joined by Mr. Bonnell, our client. The court. Anytime it says the court, I believe that's the judge speaking. Good morning. Everybody have a seat. There's a preliminary injunction hearing that was referred to me for disposition by Judge Becerra. I took a look at it and decided that I couldn't resolve it without probably hearing additional evidence or response from the parties. So that's why I scheduled the hearing when I did. So I appreciate everyone's cooperation. I think I scheduled it on Friday, short notice, so I appreciate everybody accommodating it to get the matter resolved. So let me turn to counsel for the plaintiff and tell me what witnesses, if any, you wish to call. Mr. Lage stands up, Pxie's lawyer. Your Honor, at this time, if Your Honor needs us to get further information, we would call the plaintiff and we would also call the defendant. Now, keep in mind that for the first time yesterday, right, the day before this, they added Abby to the case. Now, she didn't show up, obviously, but I believe it was the day before is when they threw on her statements saying that I'd sent her videos of Pxie. Never have. This is bullshit. There's a reason why she's dodging subpoenas and why they've offered no evidence of this, but this was the day before they had added her, so obviously she's not here or anything, but okay. And Destiny, amateur detractors are narcissists. Oh, I'm sorry. Well, I don't think Pxie's a narcissist. I don't think any of the people involved in this are narcissists. Okay, so Pxie's lawyer. Your Honor, at this time, if Your Honor needs us to get further information, we would call the plaintiff. We would also call the defendant. The judge. Okay. On behalf of the defendant, Andrew, we would call the defendant, Your Honor. The judge says, okay. So why don't we do that? Why don't we take the, we don't have to take all day for it, just because I've already reviewed the affidavit you filed in support and the declarations and the supplemental declarations, but I think it would be useful to get some of the information clarified on the record. So go ahead and call then, let you direct your client. Pxie's lawyer, Mr. Lage? Zipzip put it in chat, how you pronounce it. Your Honor, in order to make this as efficient as possible, if there's areas of inquiry that you wish us to address, I'm happy to do so. The judge. In particular, I guess the issue is, one of the issues that I have is when did she become aware of the problem and what occurred in the interim between that awareness and when the lawsuit was filed? So remember, it's like Lage, like Gague. Am I supposed to know how you pronounce that? Geju? Okay, that didn't help at all, but thanks. Okay. Oh, Gage. Lage and Gage. Oh, you just spelled Gage incorrectly. Fuck you. Okay. The reason why the judge, do I need to explain why they're asking questions? I don't know how much, I feel like I've explained this a lot. I don't know how many people understand everything by now. The reason why he's asking is because if you're filing a TRO or a preliminary injunction, the reason why you're filing these things is because you're saying, like, this is an emergency. I need the court to step in right now, because at the end of the day, our civil courts are courts of equitable relief, is the way you say it, right? Basically, the court is here to make you whole again after a bad thing has happened. But if there's an ongoing thing, sometimes these ongoing things will cause irreparable harm. That's one of your qualifiers for having a preliminary injunction, is you have to show that the harm that's going to be caused, if the defendant is allowed to continue to act in the way that he is so bad that the court can't help me. So like an example of this might be, let's say me and somebody else recorded a porn video and I'm going to publish it and I want to publish it. And they're saying, no, I don't want that person to publish it, but I haven't published it yet. Okay. If I haven't published it yet, and I'm going to, you might file like a TRO or a preliminary injunction saying he can't be allowed to publish this while we do the court case, because let's say that he publishes it and then we do the court case. Well, now I'm fucked. I can't, like, you can pay me money, but I don't ever want this out there. This is irreparable harm. Like, I'm fucked. There's no way, So that would be like an example. And you can think of other things too, but basically anything that would make the court incapable of resolving an issue or making somebody whole, a party whole again after a given dispute or claim. Okay. Her lawyer says, very well, Your Honor. At this time, we would call Jane Doe to the stand. The judge says, okay. The deputy clerk requests, please state your full name and spell your last name for the record, please. Her lawyer says, Your Honor, for purposes of confidentiality, can we continue to refer to her as Jane Doe? The judge says, yes, for the purposes of this hearing, that's fine. Her lawyer says, very well, thank you. Pxie says, sorry to clarify, do I say my real name now? The judge says, no, the court reporter will know. Pxie says, Jane Doe. The judge says, thank you. Thereupon, Jane Doe, having been first duly sworn, was examined and testified as follows. Direct examination means that your own lawyer is asking you questions. A cross-examination is when the opposing counsel lawyer is asking you questions. Okay, so this is direct examination. Her lawyer is asking her questions to get stuff on the record. Okay, so her lawyer, Miss Doe, do you know the defendant? Yes. And how is it that you know the defendant? He was my friend for around 5 or 6 years. Okay, where is it that you first met the defendant? I first met him in Florida, but I knew about him online beforehand. We had a couple of debates and conversations privately. When we're speaking about the defendant, who is the defendant? Steve.
This is the stuff that I'm actually interested in, because I think we'll get good color on how Pxie perceives their relationship and how Steven perceives their relationship. I get that this is a high school drama, right? And I get that a lot of people don't give a shit about this, but we did get some very large super chats. Basically, Christian Vlaris, blame Christian Vlaris for the psychic damage that we're all about to take. But again, just because I might actually have Danabo actually cut out all the content up until now, because seriously, there's so much fluff in here. Steven is a sexual degenerate. He's done a lot of crazy sex things with a lot of various people. He's video recorded it with the consent. Allegedly, he's audio recorded things without consent. There's criminal allegations, there's civil allegations. But the reason why we're talking about this court case is because Pxie is the one person that we know who has actually taken legal action against Steven. And she is effectively suing Steven because Steven sent homemade pornography that they voluntarily created together to a third party. That third party had it for about 2 years. And then allegedly, the ex-boyfriend of the third party leaked it to the internet. The added reputational damage is that allegedly that third party represented themselves online, excuse me, as an 18 or 19-year-old sex worker. But in reality, allegedly, they were a 17-and-a-half-year-old sex worker. meaning that some of the content that was created and transmitted to Stephen has the potential to be illegal, but it wouldn't just get Stephen in trouble if there was ever criminal proceedings. There would also be criminal legal consequences for the producer and disseminator, which includes Rose and her alleged ex-boyfriend Solo. So kind of crazy, but guess what? This is why I'm married. This is why I have 2 kids. This is why I'm loyal to my wife. That's, it's because, not only do I think it's morally correct to do, but never in a million fucking years would I ever want to be litigating my sex life in public the way that we're currently watching Stephen have to. He has to.
Stephen Kenneth Bonnell, Destiny. So this is her first lie. I am Stephen Kenneth Bonnell the second. My dad is Stephen Kenneth Bonnell. Okay? Just saying. Just kidding. That's not that important. But okay. Can you point him out for us, please? Yeah. The individual with the banging blue suit and amazingly fluffy curly.
Can somebody catch me up on the Darius drama? So I got Dion7 saying there was a great purge in Destiny's community over the Darius Empathchan drama. Many people were banned. Do we even know if Destiny invited Empathchan to Unfuck America? I have no idea what's going on. The only thing that I saw on Twitter while I was leaving, right before I left, Destiny had Empathchan, who is I don't know, a e-whore, e-girl, Nazi pedophile. I don't know the lore, okay? But they were hanging out in his Miami condominium. And then a lot of people really don't like Empathchan because she has a controversial online. I think was she smoking a meth pipe on Twitter? Was she talking shit about Nathan, Destiny's son, on Twitter? Did she make pedophile jokes? Did she make Nazi 4chan posts? I have no idea who this chick is, but it seems like the dumbest person you could possibly hang out with as your court case comes to a close and as you're trying to rebuild your public reputation within the Democratic establishment. Seems like the dumbest person you could hang out with, but what do I know? And then Darius apparently freaked out that Stephen was hanging out with Empathchan and then spurred out. But then somebody just said in chat that Empathchan called Darius the N-word. So if anybody has the scoop on the Empathchan drama, I would be curious to get a too long didn't read summary of it.
Brown hair. Yes, that is me. True. And as a result of your conversations with Mr. Bonnell, did you at some point have an intimate relationship with Mr. Bonnell? Yes. All right. Was that? Where did that intimate rendezvous take place? In Miami, Florida. And what was the date of that rendezvous? I believe it was around September of what year? 2020 or 2021. It's Okay. I just want to say on a personal matter, okay? So I was incredibly stressed for this hearing. Just because I've never obviously done a court hearing before. Obviously, I don't want to screw anything up, okay? I read all of my declarations. I reread tons of our chat logs. I went over so much info for this so that I was ready. The fact that she shows up and doesn't fucking know anything about what the fuck we're in court for. How do you not know the date that we met? This is all information. You still have this in your DMs. I can't delete your side of it. I just want to say that triggered the fuck out of me, but whatever. Yeah, if it's all a joke to her, okay, I guess. The judge says, so her lawyer was going to ask another question leading up to, and then the judge intervenes and he says,
please don't describe this as high school drama unless you mean only a child would do it. Yeah. I mean, you have to have the moral, social maturity of a child. Yes, that's what I mean. Yep. That's what I mean. And you could apply that wherever you want to apply that. If you want to say Pxie was immature and dumb for engage, she was 19, so she was just out of high school, entering college. So that's descriptively true. And then Stephen, I think for all of whatever virtues you want to praise about the man, I think you could admit that he has vices in reference to emotional and sexual maturity.
When did you first meet or talk with Mr. Bonnell? And then Pxie says,
do I need to draw another pedophile chart? I mean, to be clear, it's an anti-pedophile chart, but you guys are arguing about like age of consent and maturity and morality in chat. So do I need to draw another one?
Posture? No, fuck you. Pxie says, I talked to him. I started around 2020.
Maddox for 5. Hope you're doing well. Thank you, King. Taking psychic damage, but what else is new?
I had just transferred universities and I was like lonely. So I was like, I'm going to live stream and see if I can make friends that way. And because my family is inherently very political, I started talking politics and then connected with Mr. Bonnell. And then her lawyer asks, leading up to your intimate rendezvous with Mr. Bonnell, had you had...
Oh, that's super easy. Christian Blair says, Empathchan was invited to Un-F America by Destiny. That's stupid by itself. Darius live streamed NSE and her hanging out and started drama. Unsurprising there. That I basically, Erudite was like, hey, who's Empathchan? And I kind of gave her the skinny that I had. So hopefully Erudite didn't do anything too crazy. And then Empathchan yelled racial slurs at Darius. Okay. What you invited a Nazi to a Democrat tour, then you invited a mixed race fuckboy drama streamer to a political tour, and then they fought. That doesn't sound particularly surprising to me.
Conversations or messaging in relation to that upcoming rendezvous.
Oh, Gen X says Nathan dropped a manifesto on her, even yes photo with a meth pipe. I posted a deep dive on her in your Discord. Interesting.
Pxie says, yeah, we talked about it beforehand. We had a lot of conversations about consent and the importance of...
Officer Nasty says she also carved a swastika onto her leg with a knife, spit on homeless people, called people the N-word. Darius said hi to her and she called him an N-word F-word. Yeah, that just sounds like a crazy person. That just sounds like a homeless person. I could go to downtown Orlando right now and find somebody exactly like that, but they would be homeless. So why is Steven hanging out with a homeless e-whore Nazi? That doesn't seem like the most reputationally rehabbing person to hang out with. That seems silly to me.
Consent. I was not super sexually experienced, so I was very afraid of like accidentally leading somebody on or getting sexually assaulted. So we had a bunch of conversations about consent beforehand. Okay. Well, when you say that you had conversations about consent, did you have conversations about consent relating to dissemination of information relating to your rendezvous? Well, I told him ahead of time that I wanted to keep things really private. I didn't want people in general to know about our sexual encounter, that I didn't want that information to be like out in public, stuff like that, okay? I mean, it's all, we've already done this here. I don't care about this anymore. I don't care about this, guys, in terms of what they, but I will say that like, if I was her lawyer going into this, okay? So there's two things. One, when you're being asked...
Dude, if you spit on an old lady in front of me, I'm gonna punch you in the fucking face. I don't care what gender or sex you are. That's fucking crazy. Can I find that? Is that on the internet? Because for me, this would be like, why are you, it's the same thing with food shops. Like, are you hanging out with people who suck? Excuse me. Are you hanging out with people who suck? That way you're hoping that some of the controversy burns off onto you? Like, what is it? What's the move here? Is it a marketing strategy? Is it a where would I find it? Would it be on Rumble? Would it be on LiveLeak? Is LiveLeak even a thing anymore? Empathchan spits on people. I know I can't look it up on Twitter, because Twitter, her stuff is all mixed with pornography, right? Like she posts pornography routinely. But why the fuck would you hang out with somebody who Empathchan spits on people? I'll see if I can pull that up without pulling up any pornography. Empathchan spotted in the crowd wearing Unfuck America merch. He also called Darius the hard R. Dude was spitting on people's faces and then they got set on fire. What's wrong with him? Chid does not ask, he demands. What the fuck? All right, so there's one video that I can find. That's a picture of her hanging out in the crowd. That's a picture of her hanging out in the crowd. Then I guess I could probably play this, even though, just be ready, terms of service slurs. I'll turn down the volume.
You can't be like a pseudo Nazi online and then be like, oh, I'm gonna go follow Destiny. You can't be like a pseudo Nazi online and then be like, oh, I'm gonna go follow Destiny around, the liberal center left guy, and then be like, oh, you're the faggot.
Okay, nigger.
You're the faggot.
Okay, nigger.
All right. I mean, I would say that's crazy. I wouldn't appoint that person my my brand ambassador. Let's put it that way. Okay. Weird.
Asked to do a deposition to give testimony, don't speculate. If you don't know the answer to a thing, then don't answer. Okay? Number one. Number two, answer only what you're asked. Don't give a whole bunch more information.
Officer Nasty says, when did you have that combo with NSE? Probably Wednesday. She was like, hey, I'm going to hang out with people or whatever. You know, what do you think? Or, you know, what's going on? What do you think? And I just said, you know, basically, from an exterior perception, I thought she was bad news. So I just said, hey, I don't know much about her, but I think she's bad news bears. That was pretty much the summary of the conversation.
Because at the end of the day, all it can do is hurt you, right? Because the opposing counsel is going to be looking for anything that you say that can be used to impeach your character, you know, to a contradiction, something else to question what you're saying, right? Okay, number two. Now, I would say number three, I don't think this should matter as much. You should keep it in mind, but as long as you're not lying, it shouldn't matter, okay? But number three, if you are going to court for a claim, you need to be locked in on what that claim is, and you need to very clearly state what you think the violation of that claim was every single time. One thing you'll notice is that, so if now you can't tell your client to say this, but if I was going to testify, okay, to a thing where I think the other person did like a crime or a bad action against me, I would be crystal clear every single time. I never wanted any of this shared with anybody. I did not want my video shared with anybody. I never gave permission to share this with anybody. That would be my claim every single time, okay?
Okay, Key Code. I'm not going to let you distract from the content because people, I'm sure they want to hear less of me yapping and more just want to get through the content using me as a vehicle. But still, man, listen, I'm not going to say like being an unrepentant lolicon is acceptable. It's just not. If it's acceptable in DGG's community, if it's acceptable in other communities, you know, it is what it is. Y'all do you. I think your liberal tolerance has extended too far. Okay, so I'll try not to get wrapped around the axle on it, but especially if you're looking at like prepubescent, immediately post-pubescent cartoon drawings of children, I think you're fucked in the head and you should be socially ostracized at minimum, and at maximum maybe there should be criminal penalties. So I understand that might offend whatever like libertine giga liberal perspectives you guys have, but you know, whatever you think about my very moderate, I would say conservative criticism of lolicon as a phenomena, just know that if you dislike that perspective, the feeling's mutual if you're sweeping for lolicon. I'll leave it there. Like, I didn't even like Steven's answer. When Steven's answer was like, well, nobody's really being harmed, so, you know, who cares? I was like, that's bullshit. But I didn't want to scream at the man. He was already under enough pressure as it was.
You don't want to skirt around this language because this is the sole claim that you have in federal court, and this should be the most important part of your case. Just saying, keep that in mind, okay? I didn't want that information to be like out in public, stuff like that. The lawyer said, why? She said, his community, and not just his community, but to be fair, the internet can be like a really vicious place. And I didn't want people to claim that, like, oh, he was only being nice to me because he was like, he wanted to sleep with me. Because we would debate online politically, so we would go back and forth on subjects. And I didn't want people to just claim like, oh no, you know, he's just being nice to you for that, instead of like evaluating my arguments on the merits of what they are. Then the judge interrupts and the judge says, now, what do you mean about his community?
Officer Nasty said that's really weird because on the Darius stream, NSE kept saying, who's Empathchan? I don't know her. Empathchan is a trad wife. But if Connor spoke with her and explained the drama, something doesn't add up. No, because I said that I didn't know her, right? Because you always want to have this caveat of if they end up being different than their exterior persona, you don't want to throw somebody under the bus. So I had no idea how much of it was true and how much of it was internet bullshit. But I just knew, like so for instance, if you type Empathchan into Twitter search, because I think I heard about her randomly before Steven and her hung out, and they were like, oh yeah, that's like the it's really bad that Steven is followed by and follows this Nazi e-girl, right? And basically, if I go through Empathchan, and I circle it, so I see the Darius thing, I see Steven and her hanging out in real life. I see me at the No Kings protests, and it was posted 15 hours ago, and that might be Steven's gun. So they might be shooting guns and shit. So she's making jokes about like shooting Democrats on Twitter. That's cool. There's a picture of her wearing a dress. There's a picture of her arm that's all cut up. Looks like she's a cutter. And yeah, dude, this is just fucking very R-slurred. So I'm not really there's a picture of her pointing her hand up to a Nazi flag or a Nazi projection. And somebody said that she does look like a mix of Lav and Melina. Listen, man, I see it. All right, I see it. So I'm not really in the Reddit. I don't really do a lot of Reddit. So I don't care. But basically, like, she does look like the queen of BPD girls. And so, yeah, I think that's fucking crazy. I think that's a crazy move. Even if it was her idea. Even if it was her idea to be like, hey, Steven, I really like you. You know, you make a lot of really good content. Let's hang out together. And then Steven's like, yeah, cool. That'd be chill. I think that's a crazy move. Even if it wasn't Steven's idea. If it was Steven's idea, I think that's even crazier. If he was like, hey, Nazi e-girl who cuts her arms and hangs out with Nazi flags, smokes meth, and talks shit about my kid. Let's hang out IRL. Let's go shoot guns. I think that would be fucking bananas. That's a bananas move. Yeah. Yeah. Well, and again, to defend Erudite a little bit, I said I only know the outside of Empathchan. I don't know who she really is. I don't know what her politics are. I don't even know whether or not she's trans. I don't know shit about fuck. I just know what I see from the outside, and from the outside, it sounds like bad news.
Community. Pxie says he's a live streamer, so he has a large platform of a lot of followers.
Doobie sent me a compilation in DMs. I'll take a look at it on my other screen. I'll let Steven talk on this screen.
They refer to themselves as DGG. The judge says, as what? She says, DGG. That's their community name. The judge says, DGG? You mean like Yi wins? No, I'm just kidding. Judge says, DGG? She says, yes. And there are people who follow him, who really agree with his ideas, thinks he's like super cool, and yeah, try to support him and his endeavors. And then her lawyer says, well, when we're talking about the size of that community, how big is the community that follows Mr. Bonnell? She says, well...
Oh. Are you serious?
I want to wait. What happened with
Yo. Are you serious?
Satsurav.
Yo. What the fuck?
Nigger. Fucking black nigger. Fuck you. Fucking faggot. Keep walking, you fucking cunt.
What the fuck is this, dude? Like, I'm moving from, oh, lol, it's just memes, to now I'm kind of pissed. Is this old shit? Is this old shit or is this new shit? Does she still do shit like this? Yo, this chick doesn't deserve to hang out anywhere. She deserves to get knocked the fuck out. If this is Empathchan, she's literally walking up to, like, of course I would want all this information confirmed, but she's walking around. She's finding random African folk, random African Americans. She's saying random slurs. She's walking up to people on
Hey, man.
dates. She's walking up to homeless people and she's fucking spitting on them, dude. This isn't funny. This isn't cute. This isn't cool. These are crimes. So, I mean, if she fucking disavows and got medicated. Hold on, I'm gonna turn on the volume for this one. This one's crazy. Dude, I would not.
Mayor!
Yo.
What the fuck? What?
I'm sorry. This isn't funny to me. This isn't funny to me at all. There's nothing cute or funny about this. There's nothing ironic. There's nothing meta-ironic. There's no social commentary. This isn't a Sam Hyde fucking skit. This is a schizophrenic woman walking up and spitting on random people. Yo. I'm borderline fucking angry. When the fuck was this? How recent is this shit? That moves from R slurred to something else. That moves to like, you know. Anyways, I'll try not to spurg out too much until you guys give me more information. But let's just say I'm judging that pretty fucking harshly.
Over 840,000 subscribers on YouTube, and that's just one of his platforms. How many platforms is Mr. Bunnell on that you're aware of? He's on Kick, Instagram, YouTube, and I think he's doing TikTok as well. Do you have any knowledge as to whether streaming is the main source of revenue for Mr. Bunnell? Yeah, and I'm under the impression that live streaming is his main source of revenue. Now, what happened at the encounter? Was it recorded?
Fuck you, FedEx. The crazy to freaky metric might be off the charts, but yeah, that's the kind of shit where you get your throat slashed. You know, that's not like fun. That's like bad. That's like incarceration. Like all the shit that she did, if that's her, let me just try to be giga charitable, okay? If that's her profile and that's her doing that, hold on, let me back up. Let's say that was 5 years ago and she was super unmedicated and she was kind of a schizophrenic crying out for attention. And since that time, she's become medicated and she's no longer that crazy. And she kind of disavows it, but, you know, not really, because she's trying to maintain like an aura or a mystique around her personality. That would be one thing. Like I would kind of be like, okay, well, you know, she was a fucking psycho 5 years ago, but they put her on lithium, they put her on meds, and as a result, you know, maybe she's getting better over time. However, when you pair that with literally at the trip that they're at, she's calling Darius like an N-word and an F-slur. I think the Nazi posts are within the past year. The posts about shooting at targets at the No Kings protests is within the past 24 hours. That doesn't seem like there's any change to her whatsoever. That seems like she's the exact same fucking person. And I'm telling you, like, if you spit on a homeless person in front of me, I don't care what fucking gender you are. That's going to be a bad day for you. Like, dude, I'll put you on the ground. Like, I'll be gentle, but I'll put you on the fucking ground. I'll put a knee on your back, not on your neck. I'll call the cops and I will sit there until cops incarcerate you. That's not something that I would tolerate in my fucking presence. So if Steven is tolerating that in his presence, I would want to know why. Because that is just some fucking psycho shit. That's like evil staring into the abyss psycho shit. So what is it? Is it a viral marketing strategy? Is it she's just that crazy that he wants to play with the edge? Almost any excuse you come up with, I'm going to think is stupid as fuck. But there's also like a wrong and a right here too. And the wrong and the right is if any of that behavior is recent and it's not apologized for, that's the kind of person you shun. You do not engage with that kind of person. That shit is fucking evil.
Parts of it were recorded, so it wasn't the entire thing. There were like a couple of small videos that were recorded. Did you allow him to record it? Yeah. All right. Did you have conversations about what he could do with those recordings? Yeah. And what were those conversations about? Well, I told him when, like, we did it, like, you know, like, don't send this around to people, you know, like, this is, like, private. Yeah. Now, again, this is incredible.
Yeah, I told her the stuff that I knew, but I didn't know if it was true. That's an exactly correct summary of what I said. That's precisely correct. I told her what I had heard, what I'd heard through the grapevine, what I observed through social media osmosis, but I did not say, hey, I know this is 100% to be true. I didn't say that. As a matter of fact, I probably caveated half a dozen times that I have no idea what she's like.
Incredibly imprecise language for this. Why? What do we... Holy
Mr. Boop says, is it too much to ask for a stream summary thus far? Yeah, actually, weirdly enough, I think this is the perfect time to summarize. So what ended up happening was we were watching a Pisco versus Distributist debate. We probably cut it off a little bit earlier than I should have, but Steven went live in order to cover the transcript. So far, it feels like a rehashing of the arguments, and I went ahead and drew like a orbit map of all the people who interact with each other. It's not quite done, and I'll explain it at some point, but effectively, like, this is like a relational map. Okay, this is like a relationship map within the Twitch and YouTube political sphere. What is freaking me out, which maybe I'm overreacting, maybe I'm tired, maybe I'm just getting into this space right now, but one of the things that Doobie, of all people, just sent me, he's trying to fracture my my fraternal relationship with Steven. But he just sent me a compilation of Empathchan. And for those of you who don't know, Empathchan is a girl that Steven hung out with probably within the past week. Right before I went on my trip, he posted a picture of hanging out with her. And I don't see the date stamps. I don't know who it is, or I don't know when it was. But Empathchan poses with Nazi flags, makes jokes about shooting people at a No Kings protest. She's an e-whore on Twitter. And then Doobie just sent me a compilation of her walking around in public, screaming like a wounded animal near children, and then also her walking up to random people on dates, random homeless people, random people on the street, and spitting on them. So, and then also when I was looking up information on her Twitter, she basically has cut lines all the way down her arm. So for me, number one, if you want to shock my sensibilities, it happened. I am finally shocked by something. But number two, if there isn't an excellent explanation of how the person who spits on homeless people is now morally different, I find that more repulsive than just about anything you could possibly do. Like, you do drugs and you're a fuck up? Yeah, I'm going to judge you a little bit. You're a sexual degenerate? Yeah, I'm going to judge you a little bit. But if you find random innocent people or random homeless people, like the people who are most vulnerable in our society, and you physically attack them, I think you should get like physically fucked up and or incarcerated. And so maybe there's like a mental health issue there where like incarceration going to like being committed to a mental health facility is the answer over what my instinct is. But I'll tell you what, I don't give a fuck who you are. If you spit intentionally on another human being in front of me, especially if it's unprovoked, that's going to be a bad day for you. That's going to be a fucking terrible day for you. And I don't care what sex or gender you are. I don't care how much money you make. I don't give a fuck about any of that. So I'm kind of wondering what the bigger story is.
fuck. I was so happy listening to her talk. Oh my God.
So
Anyway.
now I'm borderline distracted from the content. Anonymous Chatter for 20 says, welcome back, Parasocial Dad. Have your psychic damage shield been restored? I'm glad the store has milk so you could come back. Yeah. My unfortunately, my psychic damage shield has been restored. Now it's being fucking activated, though. I'll tell you what.
Okay. And what did he tell you? And then the judge intervenes. Now, I want to give you some perspective, okay, in case this judge ever seems mean, okay? I just want to give you perspective. If you read any cases like this, okay, if you read any cases like this, the defendants are unhinged men that are crazy. It'll be like, this girl broke up with me, so I sent videos of me coming in her face to all of her family members, all of her coworkers. I posted.
All right, we don't have to be extreme, but I get what he's saying. He's being accused of revenge porn, but that's not what happened. I understand that. We don't have to make it so graphic.
Them them online on porn websites. The defendants are, or like, I recorded her, she didn't even know it, and then I started sending it to her new boyfriend. That's like the types of people that are normally defense in these cases. So in terms of like what you're seeing in this case, and the judge, you'll watch the judge start to realize more and more of this, I'm a pretty atypical case, right? My stuff got posted against my will, against my consent, out into the public. I didn't want any of this posted. All of our videos were recorded consensually. We talked about sharing them beforehand, right? This is a very atypical case, and you'll see the judge. Okay, can I talk about this? So, well, I told him when, like, we did it, like, you know, like, don't send this around to people, you know, like, this is, like, private, yeah?
Those are years old, not even the new stuff. What's the new stuff?
Also, keep in mind here, she doesn't mention whether or not I could send it to Melina, my wife.
She does it still?
And then her lawyer asks, and what did he tell you? And then the judge interrupts for a moment. The judge says, why would you allow him to record you? And then she says, so we were talking about it like ahead of time, mentioned it like that could be something that was like hot, I guess. I don't know. I mentioned, what is it? Wanting to show it to this is so embarrassing to talk about. I'm so sorry. Give me a second. I remember I told him like, oh, when it came to like the sharing, like, is it like, sorry, I'm like, to show it to like the person that I was like currently in love with and stuff like that. He even expressed like.
No. Okay. You guys, okay. Fuck. I hate that I have to explain this. This is actually distracting from the content, but I think it's important. So hold on. Let me look you guys in your eyeballs a little bit. Gen X, I know you're probably in Destiny's chat instead of mine, but you know, this is important. Okay. Simple battery. Okay. Simple battery is as simple as walking up and poking somebody. That's a crime. No, it's a misdemeanor, but it's a crime. Spitting on somebody can also be a misdemeanor. Okay. But you're not incarcerating somebody who's walking around spitting on people randomly for the misdemeanor. The reason why you're incarcerating them, or the reason why you're detaining them, or the reason why you're knocking them the fuck out is because that's not the first or last time that they're going to do it. If they're victimizing random innocent people and nobody stops them, they will continue to randomly victimize innocent people until they are stopped. The reason why you protect the homeless as if you're protecting a baby is because the homeless are the most vulnerable members of our society. So if it's mental illness and she needs to be incarcerated in a mental health institution and medicalized or whatever, she needs to be given like lithium or fucking bipolar meds or some shit, that's fine. But you don't tolerate that shit. You don't tolerate that shit for a fucking heartbeat. It's not funny. It's not cute. It's not a meme. There's nothing fucking funny about a motherfucker walking around randomly assaulting people in public. They are a fucking danger to themselves and others. So I'm just saying, I'm not taking this shit as a joke. Now, something that somebody said is, oh, well, you're already giving too much grace because she called Darius the N-word. No. Don't misunderstand. So if somebody, I would still consider her insane. Let's say that all the spitting incidents were 5 years old and her still being a crazy person and saying slurs to people. I would actually consider that a step down from what psychotic people do. So maybe she's on her meds and now instead of spitting on people, she just calls them nasty words. I would actually think like, okay, I'm not going to associate with you. I'm not going to hang out with you. I'm not going to fuck with you at all. Like you are a social pariah deserving of all of the worst things in life. However, I, wouldn't view calling somebody a slur the same as actually like physically assaulting random innocent people and random homeless people. And so the reason why it might have seemed like there was a tenor shift in the content where we just went from watching a debate, oh, okay, haha, we're going to go to the case thing. We're going to go to the coverage of the case because it's just going to be what's popping for a bit. The reason why we're shifting to Empathchan right now is because Steven can make whatever legalistic, moral arguments he wants to into why the Pxie case is being misrepresented by Pxie stuff. I've already heard all that argumentation. The reason why I'm so alarmed by the Empathchan shit is because I don't see any upside. I don't see any selfishness. I don't see any, even from a sexual perspective, the risk and the danger to this is so fucking crazy to have a woman who randomly physically assaults people in your life. You effectively invited a schizophrenic homeless person into your life for the fun of it. Dude, why don't you just fucking play Russian roulette? Why don't you do heroin? Why don't you fucking skydive without a parachute and see if you can get to somebody else with a parachute? Why don't you go fucking bungee jumping with a rope that's a little bit too long? That would be less torturous than hanging out with effectively a homeless schizophrenic who is only not homeless because they sell their body online. That's the level of stupidity. So I was kind of hoping, maybe I'm naive, I was kind of hoping that Steven would realize that, oh, well, 90% of my relationships have burnt out. The people who are my friends are finding it difficult to defend me. I've lost out on a lot of professional relationships. I've lost out on a lot of personal relationships. I am hurt by the betrayal of other people who I felt would have my back for longer than they did. And I'm angered and saddened by the speed with which they threw me away. I was hoping that that would be an alarm bell to Steven. But what Empathchan kind of shows me is that he's not only is he ignoring the alarm bell, he's looking to make it worse. So if there's some steel man out there, if there's some, actually she's a good person because she does this, that, the other, or hey, it's a marketing technique because they're pushing for this thing, then maybe I'll be happy to hear those fucking arguments, because I'm borderline like grasping at fucking anything to find a silver lining to this situation, to bringing a schizophrenic, homeless fucking Nazi into your periphery. I don't see the upside. I see zero fucking upside. And I see a lot of ignoring of yellow and red flags. So that's not funny to me. There's nothing funny to me about that. There's nothing ironic. There's nobody to blame. That's not funny to me.
Oh, what if that person like shares it around? And I was like, oh no, like, don't worry. Like, we'll make sure that it's like very limited. Like, it could just be my face. I trusted that he wouldn't send it around because we had so many conversations about consent and how I didn't want anybody else to know that we were sexual. It was a stupid decision. Why would you say it was a stupid decision? That is putting the onus on you. Looking back at it, it was very dumb of me to do, but I was also, I believe, 20 around the time. You were 21. How do you not know your age?
Paul says, one day Stephen will goon too close to the sun and will catch the flames. Brother, we are watching Stephen defending himself from a civil court for leaking sex tapes to a fucking 17-and-a-half-year-old. That's what we're watching right now. This isn't funny to me. And then we're watching that within the context of a girl that he's hanging out with is a fucking Nazi who spits on homeless people. What the fuck? What the fuck am I watching?
All of this is a matter of our records. You can check. I only had one partner before him, and I really just, I thought I could trust him. I thought, okay, this isn't going to spread around. He's not going to do anything like that. We literally talked about this for hours before, about consent and the importance. So I just thought that it was safe and that it would be okay, and that was dumb. Okay, so the reason why I liked hearing her talk about this so much was because, if I'm being totally honest, I don't remember, 100%, technically I shouldn't say this, but with this one, okay. I don't remember 100% conversations that I have in person with every single person, but I remember the gist of them. And
yeah, spitting is still considered battery. 100% you can get incarcerated for 100% you can get incarcerated for that. Spitting on the homeless is equal to abusing a cute little kitty cat. That's not what I'm saying. I'm trying not to get fucking pissed off right now. I'm actually genuinely trying not to get pissed off right now. Okay, listen. I need to do a new drawing. This is actually genuinely pissing me off, and I kind of need you guys to understand it. Destiny relational map. This kind of, I don't know, guys. I'm really trying not to spurg the fuck out. Destiny relational map. I'm really trying not to spurg the fuck out, but this is something that I genuinely feel, and I think if you don't get this, you're kind of a fucking piece of shit. So, let's say I'm trying to do like a moral calculus, okay? I'm sorry. I'm so fucking mad. It's actually getting hard for me to articulate things. So let's say these are normies who can work, take care of themselves, take care of their families and communities. This is who I want you to be. Okay. If you're a member of the COG, if you're a member of my community, this is who I want you to be. I want you to be a person who pays your bills, pays your taxes, and takes care of people. Then there's like the giga rich. I would say that the giga rich and privileged, who forgot what shit looks like. And there's this movie called Layer Cake. And there's this great speech at the end of it, and it's from like an English gangster, but he's been out of the game for so long because he's been so rich and so powerful for so long. He's like, you know, you're down there, you shovel shit. You know, you get a little bit higher up in the world, you shovel more shit. And then before you know it, you're in rarefied atmosphere and you don't even know what shit or a shovel looks like anymore. And that's like the goal. Like the goal is to become so wealthy and powerful that you forget what like bitter reality actually looks like. Okay. So this is who I want you to be in the middle. And then let's say we have old people, women, innocent women and kids. Oh shit, I lost my monitor. Hello. There we go. Fucking hell. All right. Anyways, if I'm missing something, please tell me. I don't know why I shouldn't be fucking furious right now. I don't know why broad swaths of DGG shouldn't be furious.
And as well here, excuse me, you're saying that you and me recorded sexual material and I said that your boyfriend could look at it, but my wife couldn't? In what world would that ever be an arrangement? Bro, Melina would
Thank you for renewing the membership.
Kill me. There's no world, and I would never make that arrangement because I would feel cucked. Like, hold on, we're recording something where you can show this to whoever you want, and I can't even show it to my own wife? Wait, what? So dumb. What a dumb, horrible answer, but whatever. The judge says, now, let me ask you this question. Have you...
There you go. Christian Blaris, you're born, you take shit. You get out in the world, you take more shit. You climb a little higher, you take less shit. Till one day you're up in rarefied atmosphere and you've forgotten what shit looks like. Yup.
You said you originally met him through online. Have you yourself had an online profile before? She said, at the first time I just started, I transferred universities, and it was a very big change. I didn't have a lot of like friends in my new university, so I was like, okay, like I have a camera, I have a computer, maybe I can try making friends this way, like online, just live streaming, talking.
Sutton Patty says, damn, we know the teacher's favorites are all and they donate heavily. Hey, I love you too, all right?
See who I connect with. The judge says, when was this? She says, it was around 2019 or 2020, so it was around like 2019 or 2020, like around there. Again, I don't know how she doesn't have all the dates for this memorized. This is your court case. Do you not care about any of this? Is this a joke to you? The judge says, okay, and what university were you going to at the time? She said, I was going to Fordham University, but I just transferred to University of Florida, Gators. The judge says, so you began engaging in online social media accounts, things of that nature. She says, yeah, I just kind of leaned into politics. I was like, these are the topics that I care about, that I think are important. And then people were like, those are important, or no, you're so wrong about this. The judge says, did you ever introduce your personal life into any of your videos or your posts? She says, not really, no. I mean, the only thing, Destiny, quick cube, oh, P break, shut up. the witness, she says, not really, no. I mean, the only thing I would talk about that would be somewhat personal would be, oh, you know, things relating to like mental health and the importance of it, and like how, you know, I think it's not something talked about enough in society. But I wouldn't tell people like, this is the university I'm going to, or like, these are, yeah, my name. I made sure I would not say that. Keep it super private, because I know that with that information, like, people can do a lot of damage.
Wikiditron says most of DGG is pissed off with the Discord and his subreddit. Destiny's just mad coping, arguing with his community right now. I should take a look at it, but somebody was saying that there was a bunch of chats about it. Listen, man, there's plenty of like edgy people that Steven has associated with in the past. Okay. Obviously, Mr. Girl was a super edgy character. Lav was a super edgy character. Melina, arguably, through her promiscuity, was an edgy character. Lauren Southern is obviously an edgy character. So that's not really like him associating with bad people is not really my objection. For Lauren Southern, I would see how people would get super pissed off and they'd be like, well, she's like an anti-immigrant advocate, specifically advocating for ethno-nationalism. So if she gets her way, the world will be a worse place. I think people could say, oh, you know, Max Carson, he's a pedophile apologist. So if he gets his way, it's a worse place. Lav is a turf feminist, rad femme. If she succeeds, the world is a worse place. I don't think I've ever seen those people. I don't think I've ever seen those people like actually be malicious to a human being in front of them. And I think maybe that's just like, maybe it's a trigger point for me. Maybe it's a trigger point for me that I should be like less naive about. But I'll just say it. I'm angry. I'm angry. If that person did that in front of me, I think I would have a moral duty to act. So to have that kind of person and you're associating with them, it's like, why? What are you gaining out of the relationship? What's the 5D chess? Mad Money Max says, I apologize for calling you out earlier, but I think you understand my ick now. Also, do I ever time me out? That's pretty soy. Well, that's, you know, no offense, but that I was unaware of the Darius drama. And here's the thing, man. There's always like a pressure. There's always a pressure to freak out on Steven. There always is. And I really try to ignore that pressure and let myself freak out when I feel like freaking out. But I'm not going to lie. The food shops was one where I was like, nah, this crosses the line for me. I think I should at minimum say something. At maximum, I should freak the fuck out. And then for this one, I'm pretty goddamn angry. So what's the advantage? What's the play? What's the angle? Because to me, it just seems like self-destructive arslurdation. That's what it seems like. It seems like stupid self-destruction.
Wait, hold on one sec.
Middle of last year, June, July. June, July? That's bad. That's really fucking bad. Nah. Tristan Clark says, my mom told me when I asked why my brother is marrying a psycho that it's his choice and we just have to respect his decision. Nope. You can criticize your friends and family. I think it's your moral duty to do so.
Okay. Then the judge says, I was going to ask you that question, actually. Did you post or submit things under your own name or under a moniker? She says, generally speaking, if not every single, like, all social media accounts, Pxie. I didn't want people, yeah.
Timothy Douglas says, so is the Empathchan thing a nothing burger, just Destiny boning another piece of shit human? No. Not for me.
To know my real name, period. The judge says, okay, so back to counsel's question about you telling your family about your encounter with the defendant. She said, yeah, so basically the way that conversation went is my dad told me that he was disappointed at me, like he was disappointed. And then I kind of had to stop him there and tell him, please don't say anything else about or anything else, because I promise you there's nothing that you can say that I haven't already thought of or have told myself. So yeah, that's kind of like how the conversation went. After that, my parents softened a little bit because I think they could see that I was not in the best mental state. But yeah, it was really embarrassing. Her lawyer, oh, minor sidestep, I guess for life advice. especially if you're listening to me and you're younger.
Timothy Douglas, this is possibly one of the dumbest fucking things that's ever been said in Destiny's defense in my chat. What are you gaining? A nut? Is that what we're upset about? Destiny nutted in another piece of shit person? Christ almighty, I thought this was supposed to be a more mature stream. All right. You're going to inspire a drawing, Timothy Douglas. Here's the Timothy Douglas drawing. Vis-a-vis a Destiny drawing. Okay. So, I think I've already drawn 0 to 10 that you shouldn't be sexual and all that kind of shit, 12 to 13, whatever. Go reference my other drawing. But let's go ahead and say, let's say 15 to 19. Let's say 19 to 25. And then let's say 25 onwards. And then let's say, I don't know, 40 to death. Okay, let's say that. All right. So what you're supposed to do, in my opinion, at 15 to 19, I would say handhold dates. Maybe, because I lost my virginity at 17, maybe lose your virginity to a peer. Okay? That's maybe what you're supposed to do here. And because of hormones, you may be obsessed with your, I don't know, gender, the gender / sex you're attracted to. Okay? I know that this might be a little edgy and people might give me shit for this, but I mean, I did start dating when I was 15. I obviously went on dates before then, but I think they were like handhold dates, right? And then at 17, I lost my virginity. So people can freak out if they want to, but I lost my virginity to another 17-year-old. So I don't think that you can really freak out that hard. Anyways, so what I would say is 18 to 25. This is what I would say. What do they call it? Like so wild oats, right? Maybe you're serial monogamist. Maybe you're promiscuous. Maybe you're exploring your sexuality, whatever. Okay. And the whole point of 18 to 25 in my mind is that this is your sowing wild oats phase. This is where you go crazy. This is where if you fuck up your relationships, you kind of fuck them up, right? But what's supposed to happen at 25, which I fear, I'll try not to be too critical or too mean, but what I would say that a lot of liberals that I know, a lot of liberals in my chat, no offense to some of you, I'm going to be quite mean. Some of you are sexually R-slurred, okay? You are just genuinely socially and sexually R-slurred. So 25 plus, stabilize, mood stabilizes, brain fully forms, less impulsive behavior. And I'm not saying you need to find your partner, but I'm going to say, generally speaking, 90% of the population, as a matter of fact, I'll put that, 90% of the population should find their partner and build their lives. And then I would say like 40 plus or whatever, in my opinion. 40 plus is just like managing the downslide. I hate to say it that way. I'm almost 40, but 40 plus in my opinion is like build a quality life with your partner while managing life / aging. Okay, that's what I would say. This is probably the normie prediction for life. So if you're saying, oh, Connor, I thought you were mature. You're just upset that Steven is sowing his wild oats. That's because Steven is almost fucking 40. Okay? It's because he's 40. I'm almost 40. He's almost 40. Okay? Now I get it. He's a millionaire. So technically, materially, he can do whatever he wants. But in my opinion, if you are dating 4 people at once, you fall in love with one of those people, You torch your relationship in order to pursue that relationship. It doesn't work out. Your entire relationship surrounding you implode. And then you're moving from girl to girl to girl to girl, and presumably a guy every now and then in Steven's case. But you're just moving from girl to girl to girl to girl and guy to guy to guy to guy to guy. You are still stuck in the sowing wild oats phase, which means that you're socially and sexually slurred. So my criticism as somebody who is here, who is in this stage of life where I have children and raising my children, I'm not a perfect person. I piss off my wife all the time. My wife and I fight. We are not perfect people. We are not the perfect conservative social model. I think anybody who claims to be the perfect social conservative model is probably hiding some bullshit. I was up in the woods with people this past week, and you know what happened when I shared with them, because we're supposed to share what's going on with us? I shared with them struggles to be the man that I want to be. And you know what they said? They said, me too. These were 40 to 60-year-old guys who were career-wise super successful. They've been married for 10 to 30 years. They are the epitome of making it in our society. And when I told them, hey, I'm struggling with this, I'm struggling with this, I'm struggling with this, I'm struggling with this, they're like, yeah, me too. This is how I dealt with it. This is how I became a better person. These are the tools I used. And guess what? Some of them said, I still struggle with that. I still struggle with being a virtuous person. I still struggle with being loyal. I still struggle with being honest. I still struggle with being a virtuous person. That's what they said. They didn't say, oh, lol, get your nut. Are you fucking crazy? Are you dumb? What's wrong with you? So saying like, oh, well, you're 40 plus, so lol, just regress to being a 19-year-old socially and sexually. Sorry. Yeah, I am a more mature streamer. I do understand social and sexual dynamics. And what I would say, what Steven's doing, if that's the strongest defense you have, if the strongest defense you have of Steven is that, I'm just going to lay it out again because I think you need to hear it. In 2022, Steven hooked up with Lavloon. He hooked up with Pxie. He DM'd, let's be real, a 17-and-a-half-year-old sex worker who claimed to be 18 or 19 years old. And he allegedly sent the homemade pornography that he made with all his other partners to that person, barely fucking knowing that person. He can say, oh, we were friends. Oh, they seem so mature. Oh, this, oh, that. What the fuck? No sane person would ever do that, right? Then, as a result of this crazy behavior, he fell in love with somebody, which was Lauren. That didn't work out. And he destroyed his relationship with Melina, which is somebody that I know he loved. And then as a result of that, we are currently watching this man defend himself in a civil suit. But while he's defending himself in a civil suit, last week, he was hanging out with a cutter Nazi who spits on random people. Listen, man, I am the more mature person. You know why? Because I'm not hanging out with a cutter Nazi who spits on people in order to get a nut. So that's the craziest fucking thing you could have said with some degree of righteous indignation. You said the dumbest thing possible. So I don't know if you and I are going to vibe, Mr. Timothy Douglas. Because if you're saying, oh, it's perfectly fine to stay socially and sexually stunted for the rest of your life, you and I are not on the same page. We are not pushing. Just bumped into the monitor thing again. I'm worried about bumping into the monitor. But you and I we are not on the same page. We are not pushing in the same direction. So sorry. I'm going to title this Socially, Sexually R-Slurred. Excuse me. I'm going to play this in the background while I continue to respond to chat. Just giving you a forewarning. I'm probably going to be pretty triggered.
Make sure that you DM. No, stop! Not an appropriate joke. Very inappropriate. If you're younger, if you ever get into some fucked up shit and you're like actually facing some like real trouble, either legal or interpersonal or some crazy shit, and you're worried that your parents are gonna get mad at you, I promise you, unless your parents are actual sociopaths, okay? I promise you, Mom and dad will always be there to help you or stick up for you to keep you safe first and foremost. And it's always better to go to family or mom or dad rather than assume that they're not going to be on your side and then risk fucking your whole life up.
Oh, get upset about it? Criticize. Criticize. Timothy says, yeah, get upset about Destiny making trash relational decision. What's to be done? Criticize him. You think you don't criticize your friends? What are you talking about? Of course you criticize your friends. Even if Steven was like, you know what, man, that was too far. You criticized my behavior too much. Fuck you. I would view it as my duty. It is my duty to say that I think Steven is socially and sexually stunted. It is my duty to say that if he's hanging out with a Nazi cutter who spits on people, who calls his friends the N-word, that's very fucking stupid. And if he bans me from his Discord or bans me from his Reddit or doesn't want me on stream anymore, I don't think that changes shit about what the fuck I said. What I said is the truth. So if he wants people, if he wants a whole bunch of sycophants, no offense, the reason why everybody fucking disappeared the second that he fucked up is because they were probably to some degree sycophants. They wanted clout, but they didn't want the problem. And so what ended up happening is Steven became more of a problem than he became an avenue to clout. So when he became more of a problem than an avenue to clout, they fucking backstabbed him. But that's not how I think relationally. Relationally, it's like, yeah, sure, I want clout. I want money. I want fame. I want everything else that every other creator fucking wants. But what I'm not going to do is I'm not going to fucking brown nose you when you're doing something fucking stupid. But the inverse of not brown nosing you is I'll also tell you the truth on when you're fucking up. And I think that's being more of a friend than being, number one, a fair weather friend. But number two, also just being like, ha 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 ha. That's just Steven. You know, he's just a crazy guy. You know, he's just, getting sued for leaking sex tapes. That's just, Steven's just being a silly guy. And by the way, that's why I get like a little defensive when people come to me criticizing me and they're like, oh, you're sweeping for Steven. It's like, no, I'm not. I'm criticizing Steven the whole fucking time. I'm saying probably 60 to 70% of what his critics say. I think I just say it in a way that doesn't come from like vindictive hate.
Up, okay? Your parents will always thank you. If it's a super huge thing, they might not even punish you for it because they're happy enough that you came to them. Just saying, always keep that in the back of your mind. Don't hide like life-destroying shit from your parents, even if you think they're going to judge you or whatever, assuming they're normal human parents.
Can you pretty please with sugar on top grab me a water refill? Thank you. I got a tea glass and that's it. All right.
Parents that love you and care about you, which they do, even if they're mean sometimes, or they're, unless they're sociopaths, they will help you, okay? Don't always keep them out, okay? All right.
Yeah, Officer Nasty says it's not a relationship decision when he puts her in the Unfuck America tour, calling people the N-word. Bro, that's the other thing. It's a professional liability. It's a professional liability to everybody around him. That dude, I'll just be real. Z was like, hey, Destiny's the only person with balls. He's one of the best debaters I've ever seen. He's got clout. He's got, time. He's got energy. He's got money. He's interested in the project. He wants to push the midterms. I think we just got to roll with him because everybody else is too much of a pussy. And I was like, hey, man, like, that's cool. And I agree. But I also think that you just need to be ready for there to be liabilities. And what does fucking Steven do? As soon as he fucking gets out the gate, he invites a fucking Nazi cutter, e-whore, that calls his friend the N-word to the show. What the fuck?
But not if you murder somebody. Yeah, Tyler Robinson went to his parents and they sold him out. So I guess if you murder somebody, don't tell him. I'm just kidding. Okay. All right. Her lawyer asks, going back to an earlier topic, you mentioned Kiwi Farms. After Mr. Bennell directed his followers to the content back on Kiwi Farms, fuck you, OC, fuck you, okay? Are you aware of how many people viewed it or how many people accessed that site? My lawyer said, objection, calls for speculation. Her lawyer says, if she knows. The court says, I'll sustain it based on lack of foundation. Her lawyer says, all
right. Well, QC John says, it's a 937D chess move to show that Trump is bad. You see, if we continue to allow Trump as president, we will have meth-addicted Nazi whores running wild. That's the closest Dude, that's the closest to a steel man we've gotten, is that it's a 5D chess play to show that Trump's bad. There we go.
All right. Her lawyer said, did you at any time go back to Kiwi Farms to determine whether or not how many views that video had obtained in a certain period of time? My lawyer says, the same objection, Your Honor. And then the judge says, you haven't established a predicate. The judge says, when were you first alerted that there might have been a posting?
Grassroots says, you calling me sexually arsler is my kink. That's always my worry with my audience, Grassroots. That's always my concern, is that when I'm talking shit to my audience, they're actually getting off on it. You lunatics.
Or an uploading on what is Kiwi Farms, like another Instagram kind of thing. I think when it says establish your predicate, so you can't just ask a question without any kind of like lead up to establishing why the question is relevant or whatever. Like you have to like set up the question first. I believe. I don't know all the objection rules. You can go Civ Pro is a class that everybody hates for a reason. Go look all this up on your own time, okay? All right. Pxie OC is opposing counsel also, sorry. The opposition's lawyers, opposing counsel is OC, sorry. Pxie says, the witness, it's like a website, it's an online forum. The judge says, okay. Pxie says, basically.
No, I'm saying Cutter, so I'll pull it up, man. Not YouTube, Twitter. So, you know, this is my experience. And by the way, there's people in my life who I love, who, you know, I have extended family, who have engaged in self-harm. And not just that, I have arguably, I put a cigarette out on my hand one time when I was like 17. You know how you can like lick your hand and then put a cigarette out on your hand or whatever, like a party trick, and it doesn't burn you? I did that on the top of my hand without a cigarette, without licking the spot first, just basically like to prove I wasn't a pussy. But when you said like, what's a cutter? This is her. So this is a cigarette burn. I already know. Cigarette burn. Maybe that's a cigarette burn. Razor, 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 razor. That's a big one too. That's wide. Razor, 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 razor. This is body modification, or this is self-harm. So yeah, God forbid a girl be relatively normally severely bored and decide to LARP as a crazy person online for kicks and relative fame. Yes, I'm very normal. You're right. So somebody's saying like, oh, you're faking how crazy you are. And she's like, no, I'm not. I'm actually legitimately fucking crazy. So again, what the fuck? I can't scroll too much further because it's probably going to be sensitive. But again, like what are we doing here? What are we doing here, chat?
Basically, a bunch of people anonymously post there. Usually they have threads targeting individuals to like harass and dox them. And Destiny has his own thread of people there posting negative information about him. The judge says, okay. And then Pxie continues to yap. And he was aware that this website existed. And he was also aware there was a thread about him. And the only reason I bring that up is because it's insane to me that, you know, that you have like a dedicated group of people who just want to harm you or are trying to find out every single bit of your personal life. And that you're just disseminating out pornographic content of others without consent, privately, whatever, knowing that these group of people exist out there. But that's a side note. I first found out on November 28th, we're basically the same.
Harvey Marby says, how long did it take you to realize that he was a sociopath? It was probably the Darius stream. It was Melina and Darius. And by the way, I think this was 2022. Melina, Darius, Destiny, Dog stream. And the 10K dog debate. So this one, Punish Destiny. This one. So this was in 2022. And it was part of the Mr. Girl report. And by the way, this kind of showed me that Melina's a fucking sociopath too. Darius IRL and Melina argue about her comments in about the 10K dog and how she treats him in her last vacation. This is August 29th, 2022. So I realized that Steven was probably mildly sociopathic. Like, I don't think he actually murders cats. Although, I don't know. But I don't think he actually murders cats for fun. But maybe. And in this conversation, he's basically having Darius and Melina, despite the Lauren Southern thing going on in the background, he has Darius and Melina fight it out over whether or not Darius should spend $10,000 to save a puppy's life who has parvo. And Melina basically says, you're bad with your money. You're a piece of shit. You don't know what you're doing. You're an asshole. And Steven's kind of laughing the whole time. This is where I realized that Steven was mildly sociopathic. So about 3 years.
Same day, essentially. That's where, when everybody was like, oh, Kiwi Farms has your stuff, Kiwi Farms has your stuff, Kiwi Farms has your stuff.
Cameron Mosley says, hey, Connor, I'm at my new job, currently on break. It's basically a desk job, checking through papers. Base, man. Congratulations on the new job. I hope you climb and make $1 bajillion.
The judge says, so it was contemporaneous with you finding out the first time? She says, yes. The judge says, got it. She says, I do want to note that
Timothy Douglas says, it's my duty. Absolutely, 100% agree, but I'm more confused about how this is surprising. Destiny inviting a terrible character to an event is not a surprise at all. I agree. However, what I think should be surprising at this point is that it's all risk. There's no gain. This is a very poorly thought out choice. Like it's self-destructive. Now you could say like, oh, he was self-destructive in 22, 23, 24, but then what Dan said, Dan Salt Man said, what I'm going to hope is that Steven is like a cat who touches a stove and realizes that he shouldn't touch the stove anymore. In my opinion, this looks like Steven touching the stove again. He just got burned November 29th, 2024. He just got burned again January 20th, 2025, when all this shit dropped in public. He just got burned again by the fact that this case is not done yet. And he was already a professional liability before Empathchan. So please tell me what the upside is. Tell me what the upside is. With Lauren Southern, I borderline understand the upside. The upside is Lauren Southern is probably one of the most prominent dissident right-wing people. So debating her, hanging out with her, being her friend or whatever, there's a huge upside to being Lauren Southern's friend. When it comes to Nick Fuentes, there's a huge upside. Destiny is almost like gear. He's almost made to debate the dissident right wing on their own talking points in their own, like in the proverbial lion's den, and to come off rhetorically and ideologically gifted. Even if a dissident right-wing person doesn't agree with Steven, they at least understand his argumentation. And they might even have a level of cognitive dissonance that makes them fall out of love with the far right. So Steven is actually built for those relationships. Being friends with Lav, well, no, hold on. Being friends with Nick, being friends with Lauren totally makes sense to me. And then what makes sense to me for Lav and Mr. Girl is, number one, they were excellent drama content. But number two, they were also so controversial that they made Steven look tame. And so as a result, I think a lot of the hatred that Steven himself would have received was burned off by Mr. Girl and burned off by Lavloon because they're such controversial characters. So there's a pragmatic level. He probably enjoys it. He probably enjoys being in a relationship with all those people. He probably has, you know, some level where he genuinely appreciated Lav, Mr. Girl, Nick, Lauren. He probably had some genuine feelings about them. But there was also a pragmatic level that makes sense. Tell me the pragmatic level that makes sense for Empathchan. Tell me the personal level that makes sense. What is she bringing to the table politically, personality-wise, clout-wise? What is she bringing to the table except for liability? She seems like an extreme personal and political and social liability. So somebody else explain it to me. I do not see any upside.
the website gained so much traction that it crashed repeatedly, to my understanding, to my knowledge. By the way, that crash was because of my blowjob videos, my gay videos, not because of anything with Pxie, but, you know, nobody even really knew about that outside of like a few unhinged people on QB forums, but that's okay. Andrew says, move to...
Who's the head mod, by the way, because I might know who it is. Is it Hobbit? Is it Hobbit or is it somebody else?
Strike Your Honor, Lex Foundation. Her lawyer asks, how is it that you know that?
Guys.
She says,
Steven's just, he's just a goofy gooner. He's just a goofy gooner, guys.
I know that because the owner of the website made a public posting saying Destiny's BJ video is getting so many views that the website crashed.
Tristan Clark says, is Steven the type to push positive influence in his life away when they confront his bad behavior? Listen, man, I would consider myself, you know, a friend to Steven. I don't know how he views our relationship. I have no idea. I don't know where the professional starts and the personal starts. I have no fucking idea. But what I would say, what did I say? What was the last two things that I said to him? I said, don't use food shops as a weapon because I think that her perspectives on Lolicon reflect poorly on you. And whatever tactical benefit you're getting from using her as a weapon against Queenman and the A-loggers, I don't think you're getting that much of a benefit. So that was one of my advices. So basically distance yourself from a freak. And then I think my other thing was like, stop fucking up, right? Like stop doing crazy shit. And I would say this is the opposite. This is the opposite.
Not the gay one, not the one with Pxie. I don't know. She tries to make.
You know, Z doesn't care, right? Bullshit. Bullshit. I've talked to Z probably more than any. I've talked to Z besides people who actually work for Unfuck America. I've talked to Z probably more than anybody else. Swear to God. Swear to God. I've talked to Z. I've talked to, I forget her friend's name. It might be Steven. Might not be Steven. It might be Michael. Might not be Michael. It might be Christopher. I forget. I'll look up the text message. But I've talked to Z about optical considerations. I've talked to Z about Unfuck America. I've talked to Z about Charlie Kirk. So I'm not saying I'm psychic. I'm not saying I know everything that Z is saying, but I'm saying besides people who work for Unfuck America, I probably know more about Unfuck America than anyone who is not directly involved. So no, bullshit. Bullshit. Z does care, but she has to balance the mission of Unfuck America versus what each creator brings to the game. And Steven brings a lot, but he also brings a lot of liability.
Make it sound like that, but whatever. He says, where was that? Well, I should say the bi one because I'm not gay. Okay. He says, where was that posted? She says that was posted on Twitter. The judge says, so you found out about the Kiwi Farms connection on November 28th? She says, yeah. Then her lawyer asks, when was it posting by the owner of the site? She says, about it being crashed. And then he says, yes. And then she says, it was a few days after. I can't recall the exact date. I just remember seeing it a few days after and being like, oh my.
Listen, guys, if you want to give me more money, I'll just set up a PayPal real quick.
God, everybody knows. She knows that this was not about her. I think Noel's tweet, somebody can go find it. I think Josh's tweet might even specifically reference that it was the gay video, but okay, whatever. Her lawyer asks, are you familiar with a Google Drive that Mr. Bunnell has with this explicit video of your encounter with him? My lawyer objects, likes foundation. The judge overrules it. She said, so I know he had, and I know Abby said that she had received an explicit material of me through the Google Drive. I know he had a Google Drive, or apparently he would upload a bunch of other people's, including him, but like pornographic content without their. The judge says, how do you know this? She says, I know this because the leaker. Well, I know this for a couple of reasons. I know this because the leaker posted messages where Destiny is sending Google Drive links to Rose, to the girl. So there's messages of Destiny being like, oh, if you want to see this video, here's a Drive link, here's a link, here's a link. And the judge says, and you got that from who, Rose? She says, the person who took control of Rose's account leaked all the messages between Destiny and her, and that's included there. First of all, it's not all the messages, but okay. I also know this because multiple women afterwards came out and told me, oh, I received pornographic content about other people, and now I realize that content was probably without consent using these links. And I know that because Destiny himself has stated, and at that...
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, I am letting the Pxie thing play out in the background. So if you're listening to that, my apologies for constantly interrupting it with Empathchan arguments. But obviously, I'm more pissed off about Empathchan than I am about the Pxie shit because I've already covered the Pxie shit before. Some of you guys have said, hey, can you generate a PayPal link? That way YouTube isn't getting a cut. I just posted that in chat. Grassroots was kind of joking. He's already super supported the stream. Crazy amounts of support today. Again, thank you. It's so awesome to leave for 3 days and still have an awesome amount of support when I come back. So the fact that, basically between, I don't know, guys, I'm not trying to go crazy with it, but basically like, You guys have been incredibly generous today, and I parasocially love you for being so incredibly generous. That's what I want to say. But if you don't like giving YouTube money, if you like giving me money, if you enjoy my commentary, if you enjoy me moral frogging about Steven's libertine sexual degeneracy that risks imploding online political community, then feel free to donate through the PayPal, and I parasocially love you. Like the streams, it's free. Share it with your friends. If you have a good time, tell them about the stream. Engage with chat. There's lots of cool, interesting, smart people in my chat. Super chats if you got them, memberships if you got them, or PayPal link. Parasocially love you. Let's go.
At time, I thought anything he uploaded there was with the consent of other people, but now I realize that's not the case. Early on, he sent me a Google Drive link or mentioned one, so those are the ways that I found out. So like all of this is just like not related to any of this but at all, but okay. The judge says, so when is the first time you found out about the Google Drive link? Also, this is really bad too, because it wasn't until afterwards when I went back and I was reading the messages, I didn't send any video Pixies through Google Drive link. It was just a media attachment on Discord. So this whole legal theory that they were flirting with here is all bunk, but they bring it up a lot because they want obviously to lean into this as much as they can.
Chase says, why are you watching this video and addressing a different problem? It was tangential to this drama, just because they had the Unfuck America tour this past week. But realistically, this is what's going on right now. Steven just covered this recently. So if there's something new or revelatory or interesting, I'll obviously have some commentary on it. I think I'm just distracted by the Empathchan thing because the videos of her spitting on people is so viscerally upsetting to me. Not you guys understand, I've incarcerated human beings for the same thing, right? You understand, here's the thing. Maybe this is why this is so visceral for me. I have been at bars where I was standing there as a law enforcement officer with a fucking gun on my hip and a badge on my chest. And I watch people get into fist fights and I watch them spit on each other. And what I did immediately is I grabbed them by their wrist and their elbow. I spun them in a circle. I put them into the fucking ground. I put them into handcuffs and I took them to a jail cell. Right? So you guys might just be seeing, oh, there's this cutesy uwu schizo fucking homeless girl running around spitting on people. Isn't that fucking funny? That's not funny. Number one, that's not funny to me. Number two, basically my instinct as soon as I see that shit is like, grab their wrist, grab their elbow, put them into the fucking ground, put them into handcuffs and take them to jail. It's so antisocial. It's so inhuman. It's so fucking stupid. And I have dealt with plenty of nefarious characters in Twitch and YouTube politics. And yet, if I see people willingly, repeatedly committing crimes against innocent people, willingly, repeatedly committing crimes against homeless people, I'm just going to let you know, it's triggering me, man. It's triggering me. I'm thinking back to all the times that if I saw somebody fucking do that, I put them in the ground, I put them in cuffs, I put them in jail. And that's what she deserves, by the way. She deserves to be incarcerated. She deserves to be put in a mental health facility. That's what she deserves. She doesn't deserve to be hanging out, yucking it up with a bunch of politics people. She doesn't deserve to be walking around fucking free, doing Nazi salutes and joking about shooting protesters. She should be in a mental health facility. So, yeah, fuck this. Fuck this is what I have to say so far.
When is the first time you found out about the Google Drive link? The judge asks. She says, I can't remember the exact date because he deleted all of our messages, but I do remember that he sent me one of Melina, like a file with Melina through the Google Drive. And I assumed okay, he's sending me this, whatever. And the judge says, and when was that? And she says, when was that? That was before, I think, our first sexual encounter, but I honestly can't recall the exact date. That was before, you think it was before the sexual encounter? You don't know? Remember this answer. It's going to be brought up later. And then her lawyer asks, and Melina was who? And then she says, his ex-wife. And then the judge interrupts again. The judge's interruptions. I'm almost crying. Not even joking. I'm almost crying as the judge is asking questions because I'm like, thank God, I'm not crazy. And I didn't come into this hearing, because the whole internet and all of Kiwi Farms and all these fake lawyer fucks, the esports Batmans, the legal mindsets were all saying one thing. And I'm like, there's no way, right? These people are crazy, right? And they are. So the judge stops and he's like, so he...
Okay, you guys are putting it in a super vulgar way. But effectively what you're saying is women, crazy women with crazy bedroom behavior is the prize. But dude, when is enough enough, man? When is enough enough? I already shared the God hole clip from It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia, where Dennis Reynolds is talking about how he doesn't believe in God, and so he's trying to fill the hole in his soul with women. And of course, they use a vulgar term for women. And I normally play that comedically. I obviously play that comedically because it's so funny. I don't, you know, I'm not finding this funny. You know, I think this is like a compulsion. All right. Anyways,
He sent you a video of his ex-wife before your encounter with him, and she says, from my memory and recollection. And then the judge said, didn't that give you pause then to allow him to tape you? And she says, no, because I thought, like, Melina, the way that she was also just
Officer Nasty says, I said it before and I'll say it again. If I had a nickel for every time Nazi had relationship with a Nazi, I'd have 2 nickels. It's not a lot, but it's weird that it happened twice. All right. Listen, I get it. I'm being very dour. I'm being very angry, but that was funny.
described to me, and my understanding of her was that her and Steven were in a super sexually liberated relationship, that they were like super open with each other, and that they were super open about sex, and you know, that they didn't really like care about that stuff, but that they were also very respectful about boundaries because open relationships can't work without the proper set of boundaries and understanding. Is this like a slut shaming argument against Melina? I don't even know what the fuck we're going with here, but okay. And the judge said, and you got this information from who? And she says, Steven. And the judge says, okay. And then she says, so I was, and again, like the only person I was with before Steven was my former boyfriend. So I just thought like, oh, you know, this is just something I don't have a lot of knowledge on, but he seems very experienced and understanding. And we've had so many of these conversations about consent. She loves using this word over and over, consent. Like it's like we're on the internet and every time you use consent, it makes everything like rape basically, but she uses words so much. Like, yeah.
That's true.
I was just under that impression that everything was going to be consensual. Then her lawyer asks, did Mr. Bonnell ever state to you that he was going to make efforts to take down the videos from Kiwi Farms? She said, yeah. He said that he was hired a legal firm to aid him in that, yeah. And then her lawyer asks, to your knowledge, do the videos still exist on Kiwi Farms? She said, I believe so. And then her lawyer says, okay, and during the course of the pendency of this case, has Mr. Bonnell dodged you by attempting to publish your name on any of his streams?
Blizzard for 5 says all of his behavior makes sense through the lens of addiction to conflict and sex. Also reminds me of BoJack Horseman. Yeah, but dude, God, man. Listen, BoJack Horseman, I'm not gonna lie, it was kind of a miss for me. It was really, really, really good in the beginning. But there's this scene. But this is the thing that anybody who's ever been through anything. One last update before, Diesel Knights. Diesel Knights is World War II Titanfall, and it's a fan-made thing. Anyways, BoJack Horseman running monkey scene. Okay, listen to this, okay? BoJack Horseman is at an existential end rope. He is trying to become a better person and he's failing all the time. And he's running because if he runs, he's trying to get in shape for a role that could redefine his career. And this is like season 1 or season 2 ending. Listen to this shit.
It gets easier.
Huh?
Every day it gets a little easier.
Yeah?
But you gotta do it every day. That's the hard part. But it does get easier.
Okay.
So I get it. It's like a 5-second throwaway line, man. But this is so true when it comes to trying to be a good person. Okay? Drinking is easy. You go to the bar, you see booze, everybody else is drinking, they're bullshitting, they're talking shit. It's super easy. Just go, hey, barkeep, get me a drink, and then boom, get slammed. That's easy. Same thing with tobacco. I want a cigarette, boom. You know, I want a cigarette, let's go to the store, let's buy one. Boom, you're consuming cigarettes. Same thing with eating too much, same thing with sex, same thing with relationships. It's easy to be selfish. It's easy to be hedonistic. It's easy to pursue pleasure. What's hard is being disciplined. What's hard is saying, you know what? No, I'm not going to take that next drink. You know what? No, I'm going to try to quit smoking. I actually don't need that cigarette. You know what? No, this chick is going to ruin my fucking life. I don't need that shit in my life. That's hard. Being disciplined is hard. Now, when you first start being disciplined, it's incredibly hard because you're breaking a pattern of habit. You're breaking the way that you live. But what ends up happening is it becomes easier over time because you build the habit of being disciplined. But the key to that is that you have to do it every day. And I got to say, that's the reason why a lot of junkies relapse. I think I told you I was up in the woods at a men's retreat recently, just this past weekend. The reason why they fail is because they get on the path, they start doing the right thing, they start being disciplined, they start, they stop consuming drugs, they start being sober, they start working their jobs, they start reconnecting with their family, but then they fuck up, right? One day, they just say, you know what? It's not going to be that big of a deal. I'm going to do the fucked up thing. I'm going to do the selfish thing. And then as a result of being ashamed of the fact that they did the fucked up thing, then they double down, triple down until everything falls apart. So again, discipline is super fucking hard, but it gets easier if you do it every day and if discipline becomes a habit. And right now, no offense to Steven, I mean, maybe he would admit this. He doesn't live with discipline. He's not looking at the bigger picture. He's not thinking about what's professionally viable versus personally viable. There is not a chance in hell that you can make a logical argument to me for why food shops is being used as a weapon against his digital enemies. That makes sense. There's not an argument that makes sense. There's no argument that makes sense that food shops is being used as a weapon against his digital enemies, or that Empathchan is a part of his orbit, besides Steven wants to do it. That's the only reason why those things are happening, is because Steven wants to. And that's not a good reason.
She said yes. And she said yes. And he said, and how did he do that? She said, I think it was the 19th of February. Even though he never, even in real life, he did not call me by my real name. He called me Pxie because that's an effort that I went to when it came to my streaming friends or my content creator friends, like referred to me as Pxie, Pxie, Pxie. That's how rarely I use my name, even whenever he referred to me for the first time ever as my real name. Now, this is true. However, the protective order wasn't issued until the 20th of February. Again, if you want to sue me in big boy court, okay, well, let's not be Pxie and Destiny. We'll be our real names.
Timothy says, it sounds like it really comes down to, I'm unbelievably disappointed with how degenerate this person is. Is that fair, Counterpoints? No, I'm believably disappointed. Unbelievably disappointed. So unbelievably disappointed means that I'm besides myself. I'm freaking out. Oh, I don't understand how Destiny is. No, I understand. I understand perfectly well. I just think it's incredibly stupid. I think it's incredibly stupid to be in the middle of a civil suit and then hang out / hook up with a Nazi criminal. I think that's crazy. I think any sane person would think that's crazy.
Like, yeah, well, you're filing a federal public case against me, sure. But now once the protective order got filed, it's like, oh, okay, then I won't do this, I guess, since we shouldn't do it, yeah. The judge said, and when was this? She said, this was, I believe, February 19th and 20th. Like, he uploaded another video in another channel called Last Night on Destiny or whatever on the 20th, but I believe his live stream was the 19th. Her lawyer says, okay, the video that was shared of you, did it include a depiction of intimate sexual content that you were involved in? She said, yes. Wait, sorry, can you repeat that question? I think
Yeah, Officer Nasty says, I hate this addiction analogy because it means everybody around him is literally doing nothing while he gains more wealth for the addiction. Unironically, I think that's part of the reason why he's not interested in breaking the addiction. I don't want to say the worst he behaves, but I would say that his behavior is either unpunished or it's sometimes rewarded. He is rewarded for being crazy. He's rewarded for being interesting. He's rewarded for making content. Matter of fact, that was the first thing. And thank you, Pavel. Pavel did $10 via PayPal. I'm gonna plug it again. Here we go. Here's the PayPal. Thank you, Pavel. Like the stream, share it with your friends, engage with chat, super chats if you got them, memberships if you got them. What the fuck was I saying? Yeah, I was just saying that he's rewarded. He's rewarded for bad behavior, which is why he's not interested in changing it.
He said, yes. Did the video that was shared by Mr. Bonnell of you and him involve intimate sexual contact? She said, yes. He said, all right. You indicated that it was also shared with Miss Mac without, Miss Abby Mac, MC, I think, without your consent. Oh, he's saying like Mick or Mac. Do you know if
Food chops is a problem? I think she's a problem. I think she's an unrepentant lolicon. Never in a million fucking years would I associate with an unrepentant lolicon.
Abby Mack was outside the state of Florida? Yeah, she lives outside the state of Florida. Do you know what state she lives in? I can't remember off the top of my head right now. They don't want to say, by the way, because they're helping her dodge subpoena, by the way. She still is continuing to dodge and hasn't been deposed, hasn't given any testimony, continues to avoid us. But, okay. She said, yeah, I'm sure. I think she just moved out of Texas. That's why I'm not sure exactly what state. But we had conversations before where I know 100% that she's not in Florida. At the time that the video was shared with her by Mr. Bonnell, do you know she was living in Texas? I think so, because I think she was, but I can't say for sure. Andrew says, objection, calls for speculation, and it lacks relevance. Judge says, overruled. She doesn't know.
Sorry, I don't know if I finished that thought. What I was thinking was that a lot of people were like, hey, Steven's just looking out for the content, man. Steven's just making good content for 26 and 27. You understand? Like, and I laughed because I was like, damn, that's true, man. Like, worst case scenario, Steven totally fucks his shit up, and then I get to cover it. You know, that the worst case scenario here is Destiny is like, hey, you criticize me too much on a personal level. I'm not interested in being an associate or friend of yours anymore. And then I just cover his downfall. That's like the worst case scenario, which is still personally beneficial to me. What I would like is I would like it if Steven kind of got his shit together. That's what I would like. But again, that's not something I can't choose that. I can pressure him. I can criticize him. I can do all that, but I can't force Steven to do shit. He doesn't need me. I have nothing over him. I don't have any blackmail. I'm not interested in having blackmail. He doesn't have any blackmail on me. I'm not interested in giving him any blackmail. We don't run a business together. There's actually no reason for us to associate besides the fact that we might like each other to some degree. So he has to choose, you know, hey, this guy's criticizing me. I kind of like him. We've had a few good debates. I'll tolerate his criticisms because, you know, I like hanging out with him more than his criticisms annoy me. And then I have to kind of decide, okay, I'm going to criticize the fuck out of Steven for dumb shit that he does, but maybe he'll never change. And maybe I just have to watch this guy that I kind of like hurt himself in perpetuity. And so we kind of both have to make those decisions.
Bottom line is the answer. Her lawyer says, did you consent to the disclosure of the video at any time to Mr. Bonnell? She said, disclose, like Mr. Bonnell to send the
Rynex says, what do you have against black males?
video to other people? He said, correct. And then she said, no. So now her answer here is, before it was like, don't send it around. Before I could tell Melina about it, I guess, but not show her. And now it's like, no, cannot send it to anybody ever. So yeah, just having her give like separate different answers to this is just like crazy to me. I don't know how she doesn't have one super strict, like well-prepared understanding. Remember, this goes to the core of her federal claim against me. Is it still direct examination? Yes. Wait, do Catbox files not open in Europe? I can't open this. Somebody said apparently Noel had said gobbling cock about me, and that's why the website went down. So it was about the gay video, not the yeah. Destiny, she was gonna say not exactly. Oh, maybe she was gonna say not exactly, but instead she just said no. Maybe. Okay. Her lawyer asks, okay, I don't have any further questions at this time, Your Honor. Thank you very much. The judge says, thank you. Cross-exam? Andrew, comes up. Thank you, Your Honor. My king, okay? Good morning, Miss Doe. Good morning. When you first started communicating with Mr. Bunnell online, the court said, since we don't have a reporter, introduce yourself for the microphone for me. Andrew says, I'm sorry, I'm Andrew Bretler. I represent the defendant Stephen Bunnell, Burke Bretler, LLP in Los Angeles.
He talks quickly, but I'm going to go to 1.15 because normally I do 5-hour streams and I want to see how much we can get in.
Andrew, Miss Doe, when you first started communicating with Mr. Bunnell online, your conversation turned sexual at a pretty early point in your relationship, correct? I don't think so. I think it was a couple of months. Maybe you guys have the messages. He deleted all of mine, so I can't say 100% for sure, but I don't think it was pretty quick. Just to be clear, I can't delete her messages. That is not true. I can go out right now on Discord and look, her messages are all still there. I don't know why she lies about this several times. She lies over and over and over and over and over about this. I can bring up on Discord hold on. Well, I don't want to show anything because I don't know if there's like information that can't be published. But yeah, all of her messages are still here. So I don't know why she keeps saying this. I don't know why. I don't know why she says this.
Keycode says you only do 5 hours because of the family. No, it's a pacing thing. It's for sanity. For sanity. I love creating content, man. I love hanging out with you guys. I love all that stuff. But realistically, I think around 5 hours, my brain starts to turn to mush anyways. And so my commentary kind of becomes more infrequent and increasingly shitty. And then not just that, but like 2-hour VODs, man, like the VODs, I think I might not do it today, but I'm going to try to do like 15-minute summaries. Do you guys want to do that, by the way? Do you actually want to do that? Do you want to do the 15-minute summaries for the 2 episodes today? Because I could pull up political corporatism and I could pull up flexible authoritarianism and I could take like some notes and I could explain the Pisco versus distributist debate and what was cool about it and what frustrated me. And then I could also do the kind of like a summary of the Empathchan and the Pxie drama. And I could just take some quick notes and then I could break it down real quick. Patriarch says yes. Sima Siamo says no, but that's also the first time that I've ever seen Sima Siamo. So I'm gonna let some of the Oilers vote on that. But yeah, it's mostly for sanity. When's the next Blackhawk stream? Probably Thursday or Friday. Thursday or Friday. No, yes. Officer Nasty says nah. Just do Empathchan since we talked about it. Okay, maybe. Or you could lock in and stream for 6 hours. Okay. All right. I'm gonna let you talk amongst yourselves. Maybe I won't do it today, but I'm gonna start thinking about that because, by the way, basically what would end up happening is some people have complained that I'm overly responsive to chat during my streams, but I love hanging out with you guys. I love talking to you guys. I got 2 yeses so far. But basically what I was thinking is a lot of people don't check out the 2-hour VODs and not everybody is into the community engagement. I've actually gotten that comment, I don't know, half a dozen times where they're like, hey man, I really like your commentary, but I don't like when you constantly go on to tangents with chat. And I'm like, okay, well, you don't pay super chats, so go fuck yourself. But I was thinking it would be easier listening for the VOD viewers if I did like 10 to 20 minute summaries. And I think a lot of people consume content more easily that way. So if I started doing the 10 to 20 minute summaries, and then that's what I was posting to the post-recorded section. And then if I was either leaving the VODs up and or posting the VODs to a second channel, that would be another way to easily monetize stuff. So anyways, you guys let me know what you think in chat. Do a poll on Discord? Nah. AKA Badasui says not needed today. Okay, no problem. Grassroots says yeah, and Grassroots is an Oiler, so.
He deleted all mine, so I can't say 100% for sure, but I don't think it was pretty quick. Andrew says, on March 17th, 2020, at 5 o'clock in the morning, you sent a message to Mr. Bunnell stating, I took some videos with a guy I can send you later if you're interested. Also, do you recall sending that message to Mr. Bunnell? I don't recall, but I'm going to assume that the message exists. And in response, Mr. Bunnell said, yes. At 5:01 a.m., you wrote, okay, I'll send them to you when I get home. Happy face. Heart. Do you recall sending that message? I don't recall, but I assume it exists. You don't recall sending him a video of somebody else? I recall my former boyfriend, who I would refer to as that guy, a guy, didn't want me to send videos of us, like experimenting and stuff like that. I can't verify like the specificity of the messages because I don't have those messages. Wait, so her boyfriend didn't give? Wait, how did I miss this? Or maybe I wasn't. By the way, they haven't made him available for deposition either because we've asked for him because I would like to depose him and ask him questions about like, just curious, did you know that Pxie was sending videos of you guys, you know, banging to famous streamers online? Do you have any idea about that? Did she talk to you about this? Did she talk about sending, you know, I'm just curious. Interesting that she says here that he didn't consent to that. You didn't miss this before, you mentioned it after the court. Oh, maybe. Okay. Maybe it's been wiped from my mind. I can't verify like the specificity of the messages because I don't have those messages. The judge says, do you remember sending him a video of some sexual encounter? Pxie says, yes. Andrew said, and I'm also getting there, Your Honor. Mr. Bunnell offered to send you videos of him and his wife if you wanted them. Do you recall that? Yes. Do you recall responding at 5:03 a.m. on March 17th, 2020? I'm open to anything you want to send me. You know I'm a super curious person. I think he is asleep, so you might have to wait for my videos until tomorrow. Do you recall sending that message? Again, I can't say specifics, but I'll assume it exists. Yes. Do you recall asking Mr. Bunnell, is there any particular photo or position you'd want to see me in?
I'll be wrapping up in a minute.
I assume that message exists, but I'm a little confused about what this line of questioning, like, do you recall saying to Mr. Bunnell, I'm with my guy friend right now, I can probably get a photo of me sucking him off if you think that would be hot. I assume that message exists, but I don't know if I'm overstepping my boundaries here or whatever. What does that have to do with Mr. Bunnell sending my video to other people that I didn't know? Miss Doe, do you recall on January 3rd of this year, January 3rd of 2025, where you posted online, I have never sent videos of other people to Stephen, ever. 1. I remember sending that to Dan Saltman in a private DM, and the context of that was Dan claiming that everybody in the sphere was non-consensually distributing materials of other people. So that was the context where I was thinking, like, no, the guy I had my former boyfriend's consent, the only one person I was with before. Move to strike is non-responsive. My question, Ms. Doe, was, do you recall texting or posting online on January 3rd at 10:37 p.m.? I have never sent videos of other people to Stephen, ever. I remember messaging Dan privately. It's very different than a social media post. Yes? Yes. The answer is yes. Move to strike everything after yes. I don't know if this means she said more here and it's just not on the transcript. I don't remember if she said more here. The answer is yes. Move to strike everything after yes. That wasn't a true statement, was it, Miss Doe? No, it wasn't. And then the judge stops. And who is this character? Dan. What is his name? Dan Saltman is one of the best friends of Destiny, who's also a business partner with Destiny. They run a podcast together. He was going online claiming that everybody had done what Stephen had done, and that's when I messaged him. So you're responding to him, the judge asks. If it's stricken, it's not their destiny. Okay. Sometimes she yaps a lot, and then my lawyer, Andrew, will just say, so the answer is this, strike everything from the record after. So I don't know if that shows up in here now. I just thought those moments were very funny. I wish I could do that in a debate so much. This hearing was one of the things, and that lying about Hildebrand was like, dude, court, where you have to ask and answer like in a straight line of questions, and you can't pivot or divert or anything else. Oh my God, it's so nice. So the judge stops and asks, so you're responding to him, Dan Saltman. Pxie says, because I saw him on a podcast or on a stream, and he was making those claims. And this was the 3rd, right? January 3rd? Can you confirm that? She asks Andrew. No? Okay. My lawyer doesn't have to give her anything. Doesn't have to help her at all. And she's like trying to get help on the stand because she's... So the judge asks, what was the date of the communication? And so the judge can ask questions, okay? So the judge asks my lawyer, what was the date of the communication? And Andrew says, January 3rd, 2025, Your Honor. It's funny, it's actually a little bit like poker. You can ask a player, you know, if you want to put them all in, what's your stack? What's your count? Sometimes you'll ask players to see how they answer. You can get information about how nervous they are. But the player doesn't have to actually answer you. You can ask, you know, like, did you fold? You have 2 cards? Did you bet? How many chips you got? The player doesn't have to answer at all. You can ask the dealer, could I get a count of his chips? And the dealer can count them for you and tell you. So it's kind of funny. There's like a similar setup here, but... So Pxie then continues, yeah, so this was still before I made my Substack, basically. I was still in a state of denial between when I first found out and between when I made my Substack. I was trying to downplay what happened as much as possible, claim that no, like, everyone's just confused, everyone's just wrong. The judge says, let me ask you this question. Prior to this point, had you already been engaging online with others about your problem? She says, yes. The judge says, how often? She says, to the people who would randomly send me DMs being like, this is you, I would try my best to, like, deny it. The judge says, no, but on an online platform, in other words, on a more public platform. She says, oh, on a more public platform? No, I did not. I did not claim, like, make statements about it being me or anything like that. By the way, that's also a lie because she was posting about it in Spicy Chat and maybe other Discords, but I know at the very least in Chud Logic's Discord, she was posting comments about it there. But the judge says, okay. Andrew says, my lawyer.
Grassroots says sleep is a conspiracy by the Jewish sympathetic homosexuals. True. I've seen streamers use a donation limit for a new topic, competing topics. I get it, but also you guys are so kind. I don't want to like force you to give dollars for random shit. I just want to do whatever's popular with the audience that I have come to love. Jodazilla says 24/7 stream every day of my life. Stream ends when I die. Sure. I mean, that's how it feels sometimes. Officer Nasty says he should depose Rose or Solo for sharing his nudes. That would be great. I mean, I agree, but then that's not, I don't think that would be a part of this because Pxie's trying to sue Steven, so it'd be a different court hearing. Officer Nasty says, I don't mind sending them, but he's asleep, so I'll have to send them tomorrow when he's up, meaning she needs to ask consent. I think that's implied. What is this about? This is about Stephen Bonnell, his current suit, where he's being sued for sharing homemade pornography that ultimately got leaked onto the internet. One of his former paramours, Miss Pxie, sued Stephen, and they just released a court transcript. So they're trying to go through like nitty gritty detail. Truth be told, I feel like we already know like 80% of this. So I'm kind of, that I focused more. Most of my commentary has been on Empathchan today. Which is Stephen invited a cutter, meaning a self-harming Nazi who uses slurs and spits on people, who's she's a e-whore, but she's one step above homelessness. He invited her to, to hang out, but also do a political hangout, which I think is fucking crazy. Officer Nasty says, wasn't Dan the guy who said Destiny was horrible to Melina and validated Destiny sharing the private therapy records with e-whores? Yeah, but like Dan is supportive of Destiny, but he will randomly call out Steven's bad behavior. I wouldn't view that as like Dan being manipulative. I would view that as Dan trying to be honest where Steven has some shortfalls. Grassroots says the Phoebophile in poker doesn't have to answer at all. What? That's a rule I haven't heard of. She was posted in Spicy Chat. Okay, well, I think the argument here is that she's being dishonest with details to make herself look better. So if she's willing to lie about small details, then what is she willing to lie about in reference to big details? Officer Nasty says the judge literally told Destiny's lawyers, why don't you depose Rose? Yeah, he should. But they probably won't depose Rose because, number one, she's in a different state. She probably won't respond to summons. And then not just that, that's going to expose the fact that the timeline of events alludes to potentially criminal behavior on Rose's part and on Steven's part, by the way. Officer Nasty says, I would love if Connor watched the Dan Mooten stream bullying Darius the other day. I don't know, man. I borderline feel with feel bad for Darius. I know that with Darius, like he kind of invites it because he likes doing the drama streams. But for me, it feels like he bites off more than he can chew, and then he gets legitimately like emotionally upset. So I don't know if I'm a fan of that. But anyways, what I'm going to try to do, let me try to summarize that real quick. Realistically, in reference to this segment, I have no idea if I'll make it a VOD segment. It's probably pretty long for a VOD segment. But we watched Steven cover the transcript for his court case, but it's mostly everything that we kind of already knew. Pxie might be lying about small details. The judge was kind of calling her out for maybe doing some of the bad things that Steven did. There might be an appeal to hypocrisy there. There might be some procedural errors or procedural issues that might swing Destiny's way, but we just don't know until the fat lady sings. That's basically what's going on with the Pxie course case. Is I have no idea where it's going to go, and I'm not yet, General. So stick around. But I'm just summarizing this segment. So. What we realistically spent a majority of our time on, though, was Empathchan. So with Empathchan, that's somebody that Steven has hung out with. Let's just say I'm a huge critic of that move. And realistically, I might need to make that content, or I might need to talk to Steven about it, either in private or in public, just because that does rub me wrong. Food shops already rubbed me wrong. Empathchan definitely rubs me wrong. I parasocially love you guys. I'll see you tomorrow. Thanks for hanging out.